There we go. All right. Well, hey, Purple, I think that's the name that we agreed to
Yeah, that's
refer to
cool.
you
My
as. And
favorite
then
color.
you
So
called, oh, it's a nice color. You could refer to me as Casual Radical, or if you want, you could try to pronounce my name, Emiliano. It doesn't matter to me.
okay.
And
Say your name again. Say your name.
Emiliano,
Emiliano.
Emiliano, yeah.
Emiliano.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah, that's good. But
Okay.
yeah, yeah, I'm from Texas, and you're in the southern area as well. So I
Yeah.
think this will be
Do
a good
say so.
conversation. And
Practically
one of the
neighbors.
things I want to go ahead and just put some structure, and then we're going to have some space to just go ahead and discuss what you would like to too. But these are the areas that I would like to address. The non-electoral trend in this country. There's a lot of people saying both parties are bad. I just have a question every time I hear people say that. Is that strategic and helpful? In my opinion, it always depends, but we're going to have that discussion. And the
Okay.
multi-party system over the two-party system,
Sure.
mutual aid, and your personal story. So those are areas I would like to cover. And one of the things I ask people when we do these interviews is to discuss problems, obviously, but also try to think of solutions too. Because I think a lot of people online are experts at talking about problems and who to blame. But when it comes to actually giving solutions, I don't think that's something that a lot of people really discuss, or they just spout out talking points.
Okay.
But I guess we could start off with the non-electoral trend. I mean, what do you feel in regards to like the both parties being corrupt? Should we continue voting? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Well, it really kind of took me almost 30 years to really catch on to a good comedian that I've listened to, that I've never really, heard of. And then that was George Carlin.
Mm,
And to me, George Carlin was really a really great comedian. And he made people think about, the system and how it works. And this was back, in the when he was doing the stand up, but to me, he just progressed and got a lot better when he, went along with his comedy.
mhm,
But really, man, I'm an independent now. That's just the way I stand. I've been a Republican. I'm
mhm,
from Mississippi.
mhm,
My family was Republicans. I didn't know anything. I started up. My grandmother, she was a conservative, and I just started, kind of focusing on. I remember when Bush was in the Gulf War. Bush Senior was in the Gulf War,
mhm.
and they were pushing war, and I'm like, well, I didn't know anything about it at the time. Like I said, to me, I think I'm still growing as a person. I'm still evolving as a person, and I'm trying to pick up listen to everybody's side of the story and try to be understanding as much as possible, because if you listen to somebody's situation, your situation might be different than mine. Like, I don't have health care. I
Mhm.
don't have it. My daughter's health care is $300 a month. I don't have health care. I haven't had health care since I was 16. But you
Mhm.
know what? I'd rather me not have health care than her not have health care. So I mean, just being a basic parent, man, you got to put your kids first.
Yeah.
And it's really, nobody's really doing anything. You can say, you can look at both parties. Okay, so you really have to say it really isn't. I mean, you can say Trump was a racist. You can say Biden is a racist, but you got to really look at what have they done for people,
Mhm.
and then and that's what it has to come down to, his policies. I
Yeah.
mean, you see what Joe Biden did when he was in the Senate. I mean, you see he's tried to cut Social Security 4 times. He's tried to the Roe v. Wade. Barack Obama has super majority in the House, and they still couldn't, get it passed. And like I said, abortion is kind of like, I saw your interview, and I thought it was really good with the other guy you had on here, but I forgot his name. But like I said, I
James.
just have kind of, yeah, James. That's it. But we just had a lady here.
Mhm.
She had a baby,
Mhm.
and she just really just smashed her baby into the ground and killed it. Just
Yeah.
dropped it everywhere. Just murdered the baby, and
Good night.
it's crazy. And
Yeah.
and my wife was, I almost lost my wife and child during childbirth,
Yeah.
and that was hard to watch. And when you hear about all of these, not just abortion, I kind of want to touch on it just a little bit, because
Sure.
and my wife was saying that when a mother miscarriages, and they want to arrest the mother for miscarriaging, that's crazy. And my wife was telling me about it, and I was like, what? How is that your fault if you miscarriage? But yeah, I mean, and then you got to look at the fact that, it's not about, even if you can say, oh, but I saw you post something like, if a 10-year-old girl is raped, well, childbirth can kill a grown woman.
No,
It can
that's a
kill a
no-brainer to me.
it
I
can
mean, I
kill
had
a
two
grown
kids
woman.
and I saw the
Yeah, I
process
mean,
too.
I'm
It
not
ain't
taking anything
easy.
away. Yeah, if you rape a child, I mean, I mean, I got a daughter. I mean, I can
Yeah,
imagine that. But childbirth is dangerous for a woman to go through in the first place.
especially in the
You
United
know,
States.
absolutely.
I mean,
But
compared to other developed countries, we have a high death rate with people going through labor.
yeah, absolutely. And we have Flint, Michigan is not the only one that has a water
Oh
crisis.
yeah, I know that.
My wife actually drank some contaminated water here where we live, and she has gastroparesis. She's
Yeah.
had it. She's had it since she was 12, 13 years old. When she first had it, she was throwing up 30 to 40 times a day. They said that she went to a GI specialist. The only thing that they could do for her was put a pacemaker in. And after that, she actually went to I believe it was a group, like they did like group meetings of
Mhm.
people that went through that's had the surgery. While she was at the meeting, let me explain it. I kind of skipped a lot of stuff.
Well, still, I mean, it makes sense. The
Well, she's got
basic
helicobacter.
water is
Well,
not something you guys have a privilege to drink.
right. Well, she's got helicobacter bacteria within her intestines, and then you have to put a pacemaker in. The pacemaker is supposed to shock your stomach to make your stomach digest food
Mm,
like it's supposed to. That was an option that she had to have that surgery. While she
sure.
was at the meeting, there was a girl there, and she literally threw up her pacemaker. Wires came through her mouth. They've had. I should have gave you a disclaimer, man, because I'm gonna probably say a lot of stuff that's gonna.
Well, I mean, I don't mind if it's graphic that talks about actual things that are factual. People
And
need to hear that because I have a
right,
lot of people that are conservatives. And to
right.
be honest, just based on what you said, I do see a value of democratic rule. You're in a red state. That
Yeah,
doesn't happen in a blue state. I mean, I can't think of any examples in California, and they probably exist,
yeah,
but I think they're in a lot more in Mississippi because that's one thing, I don't want to generalize people, but the system in Mississippi is significantly probably worse than it is in Texas. And then when I have all these GOP leaders that are trying to conservatize everything, I'm like, you're over here saying don't California my Texas, but how about the red states? Like, don't West Virginia my Texas? I mean, don't not to say an insult, but to get to that point, don't Mississippi my Texas. I want my water not to affect my health.
well, this is basic. This is basic things that
Yeah,
everybody wants. I mean, you have to
exactly.
have. To me, you have to have health care. I
I
mean, to me,
agree.
if healthcare is more important than education, because if you're dead, you can't go to school.
Yeah,
You got to have health. You got to stay healthy.
yeah.
You got to have good education. You got to have healthcare. You got to have
No,
clean drinking water. I mean, this is not radical stuff that people are
no,
asking.
it's not. And
I
then
mean,
the thing is,
basically, if you're taking money out of taxes, you're taking it out anyway. I mean, where is it going to? If it's going towards, bombs and military stuff, and
yeah,
that's where all the money's going.
I
They can, and what's basically is bipartisan. This is what's this is like. Both people it's crazy. I mean, you got AOC. You go back to the bipartisan act of 2019. Her AOC, Rashida Tlaib. Even if you talk about Democrats, they all voted for Trump's military budget.
oh, I agree.
2019. I
Hmm.
mean, so no, it's like you got to look at what's going on, and
Yeah.
you figure out. You can just tell by their body language. You can tell by how they vote. You can tell
Hmm.
what they're bringing to the floor for votes. That people are hurting, man, and everybody's got a right. I'm pissed off. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be calm and collected here, but when I'm not here, I'm mostly
You
just
get justifiably
angry, dude.
frustrated with all that.
And to me, it's really, you now they're trying to, stop third party even getting on the ballot in some of these states. It's like, why are they trying so hard to do this?
Well, I got a question right off the bat when you were talking about the progressives. I mean, they're state
Sure.
leaders for their state. So I'm assuming they have to negotiate with the federal government to get stuff for their states. And
Sure.
so they probably have to be political and vote for certain things they probably don't feel strongly about, but in order to get them backing the money they want for their state, so they can go to their constituents and say, hey, our water's cleaner, hey, our infrastructure is better because of me. But they had to like deal with the devil in order to get that. And so it's just like, I'm not making excuses, but that just
No,
seems like you have to cut deals to get something in return. And not only are they trying to push an agenda that's nationwide, but they're also trying to take care of their states as well. So
sure.
if someone were to say that to me, that's not from New York, like Mississippi, I
Yeah,
would ask you, what are your state
sure.
officials doing to solve Mississippi's problem? Because
Right.
that's what I ask myself. I have the grid issue here in Texas. They're going to blame Joe Biden for the Texas grid. What is Ted Cruz doing? What is Abbott doing? What
Sure.
is what are all the politicians that are Republicans doing? So it's
Sure.
not easy for me to say, hey, it's both parties' faults, because I'm going to have accountability for the people running my state, and they're
Sure.
Republicans.
Well,
So,
yeah. I mean, you got Roger Wicker, senator here.
mhm.
Benny Thompson, he's no better than him. He's just another just guy who just tries to gaslight you into like sheep herding you into another party. But their intentions, they might point fingers at each other, but that's all they're doing. And when
Yeah.
you make it, like you said, when you make a deal with the devil, you know the devil's going to end up screwing you in the end, and then you're not going to get. I mean, why would you even want to make a deal with the devil?
Well,
You
I
know what I'm saying?
justified
I
it to
mean,
take
like, but
care of the needs of your
you
state.
know what kind of person he is, right?
Yeah.
Or she.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I shouldn't have said it that way. Politics. Let's just keep it
no,
politics.
no,
Yeah.
no. I
Because
understand where you're coming from, but
yeah,
when you
they're getting screwed with their progressive street cred, but they're prioritizing things that they need to handle if they're a state representative of that specific state. Now, I don't have 100% evidence if that's what happens, but I'm assuming that based on being a state representative, those individuals that you named, they're not going to be able to prioritize every state, and it's going to be hard to dictate what happens in Mississippi, which is a red state, and if you're
of
AOC.
course it's red. Yeah, of course it's red. It's always going to be red. I mean, Barack Obama didn't even win this state. I mean, you
Uh,
can go back and Jimmy Carter didn't win this state. This has been a red state for as long as I can remember.
mm,
But you got to look at a long term. Is that they all serve the same self-interest people. I mean, it's they and the interesting thing about Donald Trump is, and I'm not nowhere near a Donald Trump fan,
no, no. I
but
mean,
a
even
lot
if
of
you
people
are, dude, it's all
I
good.
believe I believe a lot of people saw Donald Trump not as a politician,
As a
because
populist.
I believe a lot of people have lost faith in politicians. So they saw Donald Trump coming in, and they're like, well, this guy's not even a politician. And then they see him call out, really just dig into the Republican Party.
Mm,
I mean, you don't really see AOC calling out Nancy Pelosi. You don't. I mean, if it's big time members, they don't criticize the majority leader. They just pretty much fall in line. They go along with the status quo,
yeah.
and you can see that, by the way they vote. I mean, and then you had something come along which was, and like I said, it was called forced to vote. Yes, it was Jimmy Dore's idea. It did,
Hmm.
but it doesn't really matter whose idea it was. To me, it was a good idea. But
Hmm.
even if it would have failed, even if
Hmm.
it would have failed, you still need to show people that you're capable of bringing that to a vote. Because even if it would have failed, I still wanted to know who would have voted against it.
Yeah.
And that would have been like, okay, wow, okay, this guy, it's a pandemic. People are dying, people are not getting checks. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you're gonna vote against healthcare right now?
No, I can see. I
I
mean,
mean,
I
I mean,
agree with you. But I have questions with that strategy too, because at first, I mean, I'm a big advocate of Medicare for all. I mean, I
right,
like the idea of having that, but a good ally to push any policy is the polling of the American population. For a
sure,
long time, you would always hear the talking point how it polls high within the American population. And it does poll higher now. I don't know what it polls now, but at that time, it was gaining momentum. And I think the progressives and Bernie Sanders has always pushed that momentum. But ultimately, when you look at the public option and Medicare for all, the public option is what the majority of Americans want.
right,
And I don't think that's good, but that's the reality. And I assume politicians are going to push what's more popular when they're trying to overthrow Trump, because Trump's going to play the socialism angle, and that might have lost the election for the Democrats. So I'm just trying to put it in a objective, logical way of thinking. Now, the sense of urgency for people like you don't care about this their strategy. You have needs that are basic that need to be met. So I get that. But as a politician, there's only so much you can do. And that's the strategic part. Is it a good idea, to just crush the momentum that we have going toward Medicare for all by slaying AOC online, slaying Sanders online? I don't know. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but I'm just asking because they can only do so much. And then when the most of the American people want the public option, and I have people in my family that are Democrats, they still have that socialism mentality. They'll be like, you can't just give people free stuff. But when they hear people like you talking, that might make them consider, it's like, yeah, dude, I mean, we got to do something, and I just think people lose that human connection and they get fed talking points on TV and they get misled and they don't realize that people deserve the basic necessity of having healthcare and a rising cost of living with COVID around. It's just weird to me how people don't think that way. And I think it's up to us to inform people more about your stories. But at the same time, my issue is like, okay, what's the best strategy to get there? So I'm sorry. I just wanted to go ahead and
No,
explain
that's a
why I
great
thought that
strategy.
way.
And like I said, man, I mean, how many kids do you have? You
Two, and they're
two?
expensive.
Yeah, I know. I know you was telling me you just had to spend what $800 in childcare.
That's
That's
yeah, when
like
they're born, it's more expensive. And then the thing is, a lot of people will assume, well, there's places that are cheaper, but the quality is cheaper. And you're going to risk getting kids that are going to get your kids sick because they're not going to take precautions and all that. And that's going to be another expense. So going to cheap route, being poor is not cheap.
yeah.
I mean, if you want to go ahead and save money on childcare, it probably might end up being more expensive because you're not going to have people that are trained to take care of your kid as well as a Montessori is. They're going to go ahead and send their staff into trainings and seminars to make sure they can meet the needs of your children better. So I always feel like to invest in quality if you have the resources, because in the long run, you're going to save more because you're not going to spend time and spend money to catch up your kids to development that they could have got in a better, more quality childcare program. But not everyone could, say I have the luxury of doing it. And I understand that. And as an American, I feel that you're entitled to that. I mean, one of the most developed countries in the world. Well, I can't even say that. Our infrastructure is man, but the richest nations in the world,
We're
I
developed in war. I mean,
Mhm.
we're number one in war.
And
So
number one of incarcerating our own citizens too.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
it's just like, I think instead of being number one in so many areas where it's not very proud to claim that you're number one in, we should probably take more pride in taking care of our own people. That should be the ultimate sign of patriotism instead of just, standing up for the national anthem all the time, which I do, putting a flag outside, which I don't object to people doing, but taking care of the people that live under your flag, it should be number one, you know.
Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I don't look at it as being it's the American thing to do. It's the patriotic thing to do. It's the it's the
Human.
humanitarian thing
Yeah,
to
I
do.
agree. Yeah,
You have to, I mean, to me, you know, my belief is no one should have to pay to live on the planet they were born on. That's my belief. And what causes a lot of things to separate people is money and it's religion. Two huge factors that separate us, not just as Americans, European, it's us as human beings.
Mhm.
So you mean you just look at the way the country was founded on. It was founded on genocide. We come over, we kill people, we took their land. You got the settlers coming over, they're crying about taxation but not representation.
Mhm.
And it's like, man, it's like you literally killed these people to get this land. And I don't know if the natives taxed each other, but I mean, you could actually learn something from them. They helped each other. They fished together. They lived together. They lived
They
on
didn't
reservations.
unite to protect their interests either. There was a lot of infighting with them too.
Oh yeah, sure.
So,
The
I mean,
crows
I
were people,
understand
all
that
right,
history is relevant,
but
but
you can't just say that's mine. That's like me coming into somebody's house. I want that house, and
oh
that
yeah,
person coming in, taking everybody out, and saying, "Okay, it's my house now."
sure.
That's
I mean,
that's that's
I
the
don't think
impression I
anyone's
get
going to
because
disagree with you right now, but I mean, yeah, knowing the history will help you appreciate
you got to know
our.
the history, man. I
Mhm.
mean, and you got to look at speakers like Malcolm X. You got to look at speakers like Martin Luther King, and you got to look at the way they were done. They were assassinated.
Sure.
And then and that's what happens when somebody tries to make change in this country. They're eventually going to be assassinated.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's why I'm all
you can
for
say
just.
what you want to about John Lennon. You can say what you want to about JFK. I mean, if you try to make any kind of change, that's what's going to happen.
That's why I'm
I don't
for a
know. I don't
movement
know.
rather than just one person or me just trying to be a big old advocate because I don't want to
Sure,
do
you
that.
got to
Yeah.
have a movement, but people are going to get tired of this. People are going to get tired. I'm just waiting for I'm already there, man. But I, like you said, I'm gonna be if I go out into the street, I'm gonna be the only one to the street, because we live in a society where people have accepted Stockholm syndrome.
Hmm.
We have gotten used to the oppression. We have gotten used to the abuse by the way that they vote. Tax cuts for billionaires has been going on since Reagan.
Why did you?
Every
Why were you voting
president.
Republican then? I mean, I'm just kind of curious because you are
No, I voted. I
yelling.
voted. Yeah, I voted for Howie Hawkins. I
Okay.
voted Green Party. I voted for Jill Stein. I voted for, the last president I voted for was Obama. And the
Well,
second time, I voted for Jill Stein because when she went up there, she was handcuffed to a chair for 8 hours.
do
I'm like,
you
why are
ever
you
take part
there?
in the local elections and state elections or just general elections?
Well, I mean, there's nobody. If there's anybody third party running, I mean, you got. I mean, here you look at what happened. I voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary, and I voted for Howie Hawkins in the general.
But
Even
no,
though,
in your city elections, because
oh
I feel like a lot of people, that's where we really need to focus on. And
no,
in the state
because
elections.
no, I don't vote in the city because only Democrats and Republicans run. And
Okay.
I know exactly their outcome. I know exactly what happens because they all follow the same suit. It doesn't matter if we got you can say Republican mayor or Democratic mayor, they all do the same thing. Our pipes haven't been fixed since the 60s. And Jackson's had Republican mayors and Democratic mayors. Since then, they still hadn't done anything with the pipes.
Okay. So
Why
you're in
don't
an area where they've
water
had
pipes?
both.
Yeah, I mean, my wife got sick. I mean, it affects me personally because I mean, they seem to care about fixing streets in these higher class gated communities than they do in Jackson. I mean, Jackson is like, if you go to downtown Jackson, the streets are terrible. The water pipes burst in people's yards. You got
Hmm.
people complaining. The garbage bills going up. Water bills crazy. I mean, if you can't provide a basic service for people, then why are you expecting to pay these expensive ass prices for these bills, man? You
Yeah.
can't just if you can't, you got to help them out.
I,
I mean,
I, I
I understand, and like I say, that's where the Stockholm syndrome comes in,
hmm.
because they're like, well, they're doing the best they can. They're Democrats. Well, they're doing the best they can. They're Republicans. I mean, you could be doing more. You could be doing a lot more.
Well, you're talking about Mississippi right here.
Of
Let's say
course.
you have one Democrat. They're going to be surrounded by a lot of Republicans. And I'm not saying I have the answer, but again, I can always reference states that are not all red hardcore like your state or like West Virginia. And that's not trying to throw shade at anyone, but
No.
that's empirical data that we need to be transparent about. And that it gives us the ability to be able to hold someone accountable. Which party leaves their people hanging more? I mean,
Both
just based on, well,
is
both more
equal.
was the key. I mean, you could say equal, but we have James that I just talked to who did vote for Trump, but he said his health care was awesome in California,
Well, I can
even when he
also
was unemployed.
say one good thing about Trump when uh, Barack Obama penalized
Mhm.
me for not having health insurance, because like I said, I hadn't had health insurance in a long time.
Yeah,
And
that's.
when I'm sitting there at my table and I'm figuring out my bills for the month, and
Mhm.
I'm figuring out, okay, so that also too is forcing somebody to have health care, and you're
Mhm.
going to penalize them for not doing it. And a lot of people can relate this to COVID with mandates.
Mhm.
So you're going to mandate somebody to have that's force. You can't. To me, I don't even know how that even fly,
Well, did
because it
you
was
apply for Obamacare? Because I think you would have probably been accepted. I don't know what the fees were or anything. I'm ignorant on that, but I'm assuming that it helped because if you look at the data, more people were able to be insured that were in the poverty area. So I don't know what the pros and cons of, I mean, you could perhaps educate me on that. Did
Sure,
you
my
apply?
insurance, I called, I was actually working, 2 jobs at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've had 3 jobs. I used to work 110 hours a week.
Oh, dude,
I would work 6 straight days, and on my 7th day, I would have a day off on all 3 of my jobs.
jeez.
And I wouldn't see my house. I would sleep in my car. I was falling asleep behind the wheel. And when I was working, I would work at Cracker Barrel. I would go in, I would work there from 7 at night to 6 in the morning. After that
Mhm.
job, I drive all the way to Clinton, which is a 45-minute drive to prep and wash dishes at Applebee's and clean the store before we open. After that, I also take care of my dad. He has Parkinson's disease, and I'm his CNA, and that's really the main job that I'm doing right now, because my father's had 2 suicide attempts, and I had to be there for him
Yeah, of
because health
course. Man. I mean,
deteriorated.
that's so.
And
I mean, when you try to apply online with Obamacare, is that something that was denied or something to you,
well,
or
it's kind of tough when you're trying to pay bills at 2
yeah,
households,
it was just another barrier to
because
like get all.
I do try to help my parents out when I can,
Yeah, yeah.
and my wife, too. And
Granted,
I live when you live paycheck to paycheck. Right now, I have what probably $10 in my bank account.
yeah. I
Last
mean,
month I was in the negative. The time before that, I may have had $2 or $3. The month before that, I could go all the way back. People live paycheck to paycheck.
no,
My
I'm
for
not
both on
arguing.
disability, they make $2,000 a month, and they still cannot qualify for food stamps. Yet they have a house note, they have a land note, they have, I mean, their car is paid for, but that's the only thing they own.
No,
They
I hear
still
you,
own
dude.
land, they still own a house. My mother had to get credit cards. I mean, people are in debt, and it's like when you're trying to help somebody and you feel like it's hopeless. I mean, hell, I'm not gonna lie. I've tried to commit suicide
Hmm.
before, when I was in high school, and I just see my dad go through him saying, "No, son, if I don't work, I gotta keep." Because my dad had a driving job. He
Hmm.
had an accident. He had an accident. We had a lawsuit against Freightliner.
Hmm.
He had fallen out of an 18-wheeler. He's been epileptic ever since. He had to learn how to read and write all over again. He had to learn what hot and cold was. He lost, I think, 16 years of his past memory, all because diesel fumes was leaking into the cab of the truck. Freightliner ended up filing for bankruptcy. My dad lost over $1 million in lost wages.
Jeez, man. I mean,
Lost all of that. And when you see somebody work, this man went to work. He would have a seizure driving down the road. But when he had a seizure, he got an oar in he got a taste in his mouth. As soon as he got a taste in his mouth, he normally tried to pull over to the side of a road as fast as he could. He would have a seizure in the car, and then he would go to work.
yeah. I mean,
And then he had another job. He had another job. He was delivering pizzas at night. And if you don't get enough sleep, then you're gonna have seizures.
yeah.
You have to get sleep, and that's why I had 2 jobs. When I was living with them, I had to help them out
Yeah.
because I did not want to see my dad die.
Yeah. I
But
mean, that's one thing.
my dad's disability does not pay anything.
No,
I
man.
made more working 2 jobs, and I said, yeah, but you need to think about it. He said, no, son. He said, I've never had a house of my own. I grew up in a Baptist children's village. My mother literally tried to kill me, set me on fire. She left me alone with dogs. I grew
Good
up in an
night.
orphanage. Oh yeah, I got a story, dude. I,
Well,
I
that's
got
the
a
thing that
story.
kind of infuriates me. All these people that like to
I got a story. And
flex
back then, and
on people that are asking for basic
this was
needs.
in the '60s, and there was no such thing as child abuse. And you could pretty much get away with, uh, pretty much horse whipping a child. And then he grew up with him and his brother both grew up in the children's village. His dad tried to do the best he could. He lived with his grandparents. They didn't have any running water. They lived in the Delta. They lived in Itabena. Um, and they grew up in the Baptist children's village.
Hmm.
And when they grew up in the Baptist children's village, it was military. I mean, that was the last place you went to before you went to jail. They would bounce quarters off your bed. If they didn't, they would strip the bed. If the quarter didn't bounce, they stripped the bed. The older kids made the younger kids fight each other. If they didn't, then you get beat by like 5 or 6 kids. My dad had to learn how to fight, you know. I mean, he
Yeah.
was always getting, I mean, that's the life he led. If you had to cut grass with scissors as a punishment. I mean,
Jeez.
it was crazy. I mean, but this, his story kind of, I know he's had a whole life.
Mhm.
I was working 3 jobs. I'm now working one. I'm taking care of him.
Yes.
And when you're trying to help them out, because if I didn't do what I did, they would have lost their house a long time ago. My dad said, "Son, I cannot go into the hospital and have knee surgery." My dad has had back surgery. He's had 2 knee surgery, knee replacement. He has a knee scope. He said crazy Cobra insurance that he used to pay. And this is when he was even working. When he got laid off his job because the boss said, "My dad used to work for free." He said, "Pat, you've helped me out so much. I'm not even going to clock in on that time clock
Mm.
because you've helped me out so much." He said, I'm not going to do that." He said, "You paid me when I was at the house. I didn't have no vacation pay. You paid me, Pat." I mean, just he was cool. His boss was cool. And my dad worked for free. And
Mm.
then my dad would literally like hide in the back. And then he was trying to he would go back then, he looked for my dad, and my dad was like nowhere to be found. But he was working. He said, "No, man, I'm gonna stay a little bit longer because you helped me. And that's
Mm.
what I'm gonna do for you. Since you helping me, I'm gonna help you." He said, Pat, you didn't have to add that extra money to my check." He said, "You didn't have to do this." He said, "So at least let me do this for you."
Mm.
And when you got my dad working, falling off ladders, used to
Yeah.
fall off ladders, used to bust his head open, when he gets getting out of bed, he would go into the bathroom, go wham.
Mm.
He'd go to a hospital, get stitched up, go to work. You know, that's
Yeah,
that.
no, and that kind of infuriates me
Does
hearing
it?
all that stuff because the opposition likes to generalize everybody that needs basic health care.
And
They want
people
to go
don't.
ahead. Mm.
Yeah, they don't realize this, man. This is what, and you know what? I can't relate to other people's experiences, but trauma is what makes you who you are. Your past is what makes you who you are. I'm not gonna lie, man. I grew up differently. I went to 5 schools, and for a long time, dude, I hated black people. I'm not even gonna lie. I hated black people. I was a minority white person, and I went to 4 Jackson public schools.
Mm.
So I went over there. I've been to Wilkins. Uh Majority, I got bullied there. I
Mm.
went to Marshall, I got bullied there. I went to Peoples, I got bullied there. Then my grandmother said, and then when I was at Peoples, I was actually trying to take karate. And then I had 4 guys come up with me on a knife in the bathroom and said, "If you don't give me your lunch money for the rest of the year, we will come to your house, we will kill you, and we will kill your mother." And my dad was not in the picture at that time.
Mm.
So, and they knew where I lived because they rode my bus, and I had to give it up. I can't. It literally gonna take an hour for the cops to get there, and there was nothing in the house. My grandfather was dying. He was in a hospital bed. My mother used to take care of him.
Mm.
He had cancer really bad.
Mm.
And I remember he used to come pick me up in his station wagon like every day. And I seen what healthcare not having it does. Believe me.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, I mean, like, I'm not trying to skip around. I'm trying to stay in chronological order with my story, but I mean, I was in New Orleans during Katrina,
Hmm.
and I literally, and I was making pretty good money, and I saw what happened. This is crazy. This is crazy. I saw houses where people had died in them, like literally, like died in that house.
Yeah.
And I would go in these houses, and then I would see people just crying, like breaking down. Insurance companies, Affleck, you're not in good hands with Affleck. I can tell you that. I don't give a shit what the duck says. You're not in good
Yeah.
hands. That damn duck needs to be drowned. But you're not in good hands.
Mm.
And I've seen so many people got screwed over. When I was down there, I said, "Jim," because I'm not gonna lie, man, I was making about $2,000 down there. Because it was bad. And you had some people. We went to nice neighborhoods.
Hmm.
Sometimes we went to poor neighborhoods. That was a good thing about working where I did. We used to go down there, and we used to try. And I said, "Jim, you know what?" That was my boss in there. I said, "Dude, just take it out of my check. Just pay to have these." He said they used to call me Boucher because I look they all look like Adam Sandler back then. So they said, "Hey, Boucher," and like, yeah, that's me, man. So uh let's you we can't keep doing this, man. I said, as long as I got money, I'm gonna keep spending my paycheck how I want to spend my paycheck. I said, clean their house, deodorize it, biocide it, because there's gonna be mold and mildew in there. You got to kill the mold and mildew. If you don't, there's no sense of cleaning it if you can't kill that mold and mildew with a biocide or a microban. You
Sure.
got to spray that stuff in there to clean that stuff out. And people just wanted to sidestep and do it, like, no, we can't. We're not gonna do that. I said, well, you know what? I will. If I go to y'all's house and I see y'all struggling, and I see that y'all don't have the money to do it, I will. There was times, and it was good when we were down there. They put us up in a condo. It was really nice. It was actually the franchise owner. He owned the company, and we stayed down there. He made his garage out. You couldn't even tell it was a garage. Looked just like wow, this is nice, man. Had 2 beds in there. Man, they called me up at 2 in the morning. Hey, Boucher, man, I need you to go to New Orleans. I'm like, man, it's gonna take me like 3 hours to get down there. I didn't even get to bed yet. Like, oh man, I'm sorry, man. I need you to go. Okay, no problem, man. I'll go down there. I'm half asleep. Got a speeding ticket on the way down there. Like, oh man, I gotta pay it. It's okay, I gotta pay it. So went down there, and man, living down there. Then they went from that to like living in a shop. I'm like, I can't do it, man. I can't stay in the situation where I go to sleep at work and I wake up at work. I mean, I'm constantly at work, and just down there was mentally draining as it was, because you seeing all these people struggling, and then you can't help out everybody. So when
Can't,
I'm
dude.
staying there,
You got to be able to take care of yourself to help the people in your life too. You have to prioritize what you can do. I mean, I understand that mutual aid to that extent might be a little bit extreme, because obviously you have needs to handle at your home. So, I mean, I would have been a little bit different. I would have took all my paycheck, but it would have been utilized to take care of what's at home, and then just do my best of what I could do to promote, like what you're doing right now, just saying, hey, people are needing help up there. And I think there's a huge cloud of ignorance over so many Americans because we don't talk to each other. I mean, it's easy for someone to make a person that lives in a red state look like they're the villain. But if you don't understand where they're coming from, of course, that's how they're going to say looking, and me being who I am, I'm from a red area. I have friends that are Republicans. I have friends that are liberals, and they're good people. But if I were to stay in my, what's the word I was looking for? Echo chamber, I wouldn't understand what makes them tick. And that's why I like talking to people, because even though you were a Republican, even though you do live in a red state, you have the same needs. Yeah, and you're a Democrat.
I've seen all sides. I've seen all sides. It doesn't matter, because you see that none of them, they just keep pushing the people's interests aside. They're like, oh, we voted for it.
But to be fair, Louisiana is pretty much ruled by Republicans.
But they always work together. I mean, so if you see something in the bill you don't like, then you have to fight to get that removed from the bill.
Yeah.
That's just what they should do. And then, like I said, they could have done that. They could have, been like, hey, let's get together and we don't want this going here. We want to help people out. I mean, we can't get a raise. I mean, come on, man. I mean, dude, I'm making $9.50 an hour.
Yeah, that's not
good thing. Now, the thing about me is my house note's only $800. I stay in a 2-story, 5-bedroom, 2-bath house. And it was built, they built it back in the 90s. And you know what? They built it the best they could, and my wife loves this house. It's where she wants, it's where she grew up. And, this is, I just came in, I just started paying a note. Because, and then you had, and then you look, their dad left them. He went to move down to Florida, and, they were stuck with all the bills. I mean, they had to get credit cards. Once again, the banks win. Doesn't matter. Republicans love the banks. Democrats love the banks because they bailed them out. They bailed out the auto industry. That was bipartisan. You see who they're bailing out. You see who they're helping, and you see who they're not helping.
Yeah, I mean, that's the area that I like to debate. Not with you, it's in general,
Oh yeah.
because when we like, you could make a visual like a T chart, Republican, Democrat, and then just go
Sure.
ahead and put the tabs up. And that's kind of what I do. And that's what I did when I was on the right and I was a conservative. I was like, dude, who am I going to vote for? Because when Obama left office, that was like a big transitional period in our politics. Like, who's going to be our next leader? Or who should we consider? And I was not really a big fan of Hillary Clinton. And actually, I think I might have voted for Hillary Clinton when she ran against Obama. But when she was like running again, I was just like trying to get more savvy with foreign policy and all that. And I just saw that she was supporting a lot of things that I probably didn't align with in the past, but I didn't know much about. And I'm like, hey, you know what? She didn't really prioritize things that I felt that mattered at that time. So I kind of embraced Obama a little bit more. And I don't even remember the first time Obama ran, if I voted for a Democrat. Or the second time he ran, because it's been so long ago. Because I think I voted for Hillary the first time, and then when he ran against Romney, I might have voted for Romney. I'm not 100% sure. It's been so long ago. But when Hillary ran against Trump, I was like, I don't care. It's a flip of the dice. And Trump back then was like a wild card. And I love the idea that he discussed infrastructure, because I was like, dude, we
Oh,
need to
a,
fix that.
a lot of people. He was. I mean, he was anti-war when he ran. He said he was going to get us out of a wars. I mean, you wouldn't. And he called. And the thing that Trump was right about fake news. I mean, I'm sorry, dude. He was right about it. You look who sponsors them.
Yeah.
All you have to do to know everything you want to know about the news is just watch the advertisements.
No, yeah. And he's right.
Affleck, I mean, and they're biased. I mean, every single one of them. They don't talk about it. It's you can't say anything. You can't talk about any of it. I remember when Alex Jones went on Piers Morgan's show. I remember that segment where he was talking about, oh, I can't talk about uh, uh, Prozac because that's a big thing y'all got. I'm like, oh my god. But I mean, it's and you can't say anything about the sponsors. I mean, but you
I
see
mean, Bernie Sanders made those same claims, like Trump. He goes, "What? You're gonna show a pharmaceutical company right after this commercial?" So, yeah, I agree. But Trump was also a deceiver too, and he's gotten
oh yeah,
caught in so many
they
blatant
all are.
lies.
Well, Democrats do it just behind closed doors. I mean, Barack Obama. I mean, how can you literally go to a black community and tell these people that their water's not clean when
He
you
drank it in front of him. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I don't even think he gulped it. He
yeah,
didn't like the lady said he wet his lips. He didn't drink.
yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean, take a gallon of that shit home to your family. You know what I'm saying, dude? And then tell me, take a whole thing if it's not contaminated. Hey, why don't you take a bath in it? I got a bathtub. Let me run you some water.
I know, right? I
I
mean,
mean,
I agree, but to me, I'm always like looking at more of like the subtle differences, because I feel that is kind of relevant, because I can give you examples between Biden and Trump. I mean, everyone likes to credit Trump. Hey, everything was looking good, but the economy was always looking good. It was like going up back to where it needed to be. I mean, no, actually, not really. I mean, the cost of living has been growing since Bush. So it hasn't been. I mean, I recognize my economic privilege. When I went to school, I paid for an apartment that was 2 bedroom for $650. You're not going to find something like that years down the line, years down the line. It's been gradually getting more expensive.
sure.
So it's always been good. And COVID just, accelerated that even more.
Yeah.
So Trump taking credit for the economy, I mean, he maintained it, but it was never really where it was when I was a kid. I mean,
Yeah.
in the 90s, gas prices were under $1. So I'm
Yeah.
just like,
I remember when they were 99 cents.
yeah,
I was working at Jitty Jungle at the time.
yeah.
They changed over to Winn Dixie. I mean, yeah, it was like 99 cents.
So I'm just like, man, it's been growing and the wages have been staying the same.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, you can't have inflation at 9% and say that and not give people a raise.
mm,
I'm shocked that people hadn't said just went to their boss. I'm like, man, I can't even make it to work.
mm.
I mean, I'm gonna have to. That's why people, I don't know. During COVID, I lost my job. They fired me. I was working at Logan's Roadhouse Grill. They fired me. They said you're just going to reapply back. Hey, they fired everybody. They said we're going to close. You're going to reapply in 3 months.
That happened under
It was-
Trump, didn't it?
Yeah. Yep. I mean,
I
but
mean,
it
the thing is, he didn't add any protections for local businesses. A lot of people want to say he's business savvy, only when it comes to big corporations. He gave all that essential worker status to Walmart's, all these corporations. I think he could have kept the economy open as long as he would have pushed a more like responsible way and cover people in case they got sick. But like other countries, they did government furloughs of their jobs. So people would have their jobs when the restrictions died down. But there was no labor protections in the United States. I saw that with my eyes here in Texas. A lot of smaller businesses are no longer up, but Amazon, Walmart, Target, and a lot of people forget that, especially conservatives. I'm like, because of you, small businesses took the biggest hit. I mean, Biden came back and he put some more social safety nets for oh gosh, unemployment and all that. So, I mean, maybe that might not have helped you because you probably got your job back, but it helped a lot of other people. That's why when you compare the two, there's a slight, nod to the Democrats versus the Republicans.
well, I mean, it's not really a slight. I mean, you can say it's a slight nod, but it's not much.
The
It's
people that
not.
got those benefits, they probably like, there was a lot of people that was more motivated to just get government money than going back to work because it was better than going back to work. And that was like a big issue. And Republicans were like complaining about that too. I
Yeah.
mean, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, that's the smart thing to do. If you're getting more money from the government, why should you work? You could save money on childcare. You're not going to get sick from COVID, and you could put those family values into your kids. And then instead of two people go to work, one person go back to work. Doesn't that remind you the traditional way of life, how MAGA refers to the United States? So that was a reality for some people during that time Biden was giving out that unemployment perks. Now, did everyone get the benefit of that? No. And that's one of his shortcomings. I think more people needed more help because when people get money, that money gets stimulated back to the local economies. That helps smaller business. They're going to buy things in their cities. Instead, if you don't give anybody help, that's not going to stimulate the economy because nobody has the money to do that.
Well, I mean, also too, you look at stimulus money. I mean, Trump. Trump gave out more stimulus checks than Biden did. Matter of fact, he said he was going to give a $2,000 check out, and it was only a what $600 check. And then
Mhm.
like, where's the rest of it?
No, I
I mean,
agree.
but
I
then
mean,
they
go
ran
ahead.
on that. That's what Warnock and them ran
Mhm.
on, saying, "You vote for us? Oh, we're gonna give you some money, man. Come on,
I
man."
agree. And that's one of the discussions I had with somebody that was on Twitter. I was going to go ahead and show you a visual. So I think this would
Sure.
be a good time to show you the visuals of what I
Yeah.
have. Let me go ahead and open it up. Of course, it's not wanting to share. But yeah, because he was like saying, give me one example of when Biden did something helpful. And I'm like, okay, I'll give you an example. I mean, you could argue if it was a um,
Sure.
good thing.
But I mean,
But
if you compare, what these. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I lost you. Didn't know.
no, no, no. Can you see that?
Oh, yes. Who was that?
All
Amy
right.
Klobuchar? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is I think this is the one. Yeah. I didn't put their names on there because I don't want to,
Oh,
put
okay.
their
Oops.
but Amy
You can edit it out.
Klobuchar.
However you
No,
want to do
I don't care if Amy Klobuchar. She's a public servant, but the other two people, they're private citizens. So
it. Sure.
she's like saying no one should leave the pharmacy with an unfilled prescription because it's too expensive. We introduced bills, it's time to take action. So is it enough? No, but and she is definitely not one of the Democrats that I think highly of. But they're doing things, and then it's all about momentum politics. And I know some people are going to be like, "Yeah, whatever." But when you have people that are advocating for something like the next individual, he goes, "The only bill that matters is Medicare for all." Which, yes, that's our goal. But
Mhm.
until you convince the majority of Americans that it's not socialism, which I think we're doing a better job right now, you telling you your story, you being an American, you providing the receipts of how hard you bust your ass, more Americans might buy into the fact that, yeah, we probably do need Medicare for all. But you have to make that argument. And we as the people of this country, I don't think we do that. We just argue with each other. And we don't really discuss consequences of not having these perks. So I think it would be a good idea to like continue to move this momentum. If Democrats are going to make prescription drugs less expensive, that's a step toward Medicare for all. And then maybe people that are still gonna say that's still not enough. And then we could keep on going like a staircase scenario. I'm not saying that's ideal, but voting every 4 years for one or two choices given to us by oligarchs. Yeah, I mean, again, this guy's looking at a presidential elections. It goes down to the local level too. What is his state doing to help him have affordable healthcare coverage? Because I could reference James, they vote for Democrats all the time, and he has really good medical insurance even when he wasn't employed. And I was like, what? You still got? I mean, he called it like Cali insurance or something. I was like, man, I didn't know that was something. And that comes to, take care of your business on a local level. And some of us that aren't Trump supporters tried to warn everyone about how dangerous liberals are, which I feel that's a no-brainer. Everyone knows that both parties are corrupt, but which one's going to benefit me more and which is going to prevent worse things from happening? I mean, I think that's a worth cursing about. And I understand people's uh urge for the sense of urgency is more than others. I get that and I respect that, but if we do nothing, we get nothing. He and then somebody said, let's make a distinction between progressives and neoliberals, and somebody goes, no, they both buy into the same oligarchy lies. And I explained, you're gonna have to make some deals, and those progressives have the interests of their states too, so they're probably going to do something that's going to support the people that are consistently taking part of our politics, which are the elites.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not about necessarily being full of crap or BS. It's being political. And I think we as
Sure.
Americans need to become like a mindset of being a politician that advocates for our best interests too, instead of just like being a cynic. And I know it's something that a lot of people are justified, frustrated, and it's like, hey, I'm cynical. I earned that right. I get it, but that's not going to help get the momentum we need to do something. And I'm not trying to say, hey, you better vote Democrat all day. No, I mean, because the person that I voted for was an independent in the primary, and he considers himself like a democratic socialist. But now I just see so many people like Jimmy Dore just like, you didn't force to vote. And I was like, well, we have to make an argument to convince fellow Americans that that's the right way to go. And when politicians waste their political capital, the elites are going to annihilate them on the media. Other politicians that are more pro-elite versus the people are going to crap on them too. So that momentum will suffer. That's my theory. I don't know. I speak at a place of comfort. I have insurance. So, I mean, I don't have the answers, but I think what I think is logical. And I think what you think is logical too. So it's not the fact that I feel like I'm prioritizing my plan over anyone else's, but I would assume if I was running, my goal is to get Medicare for all. But most Texans are going to be like, you're a socialist. I have people in my family that would just say, well, I didn't know you were socialist. They don't understand uh, the need for it. But me
Yeah.
making this case with you is strong, man. And I think if more people did it, people are going to have more buy-in. We have
Sure.
to market our ideas. We have to come up with our own talking points and help the politicians that push that momentum instead of just crapping on them and just like saying, well, I have to vote for one or the other, and all you're referencing are the general elections. We got work to do, and I know it's a lot to ask for people, but that's when you look at other countries that have change, they're very engaged with their politics. Like my friend Edward, I always talk to from Germany. He goes, man, you talk to French people, they have a reputation for being non-negotiable or something.
Yes.
They slap
You
their
can put a lot of
politicians
stuff
in the
on. Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
But we can't even take part consistently in local elections or state elections. And if you're a big advocate for Medicare for all, which I am, one of the things that I get very encouraged, not encouraged, but influenced by is a term called Black excellence. I'm not Black. I don't have any Black people in my family, but during the movement in the 60s, civil rights, that Black excellence was just to put that standard way up and how you present yourself. What would you do to make yourself excellent to support Medicare for all? Do you understand how it works? And I'm not saying this, I'm putting this on myself. Uh, I'm healthy and I'm aware that, if we do have a government ran healthcare, we have a lot of people that are not healthy. We're gonna have to have a tier system so it doesn't override our medical infrastructure. I want to make sure I don't prioritize my well-being first when I don't need it. So I'm going to maintain I'm healthy. And I think more young people that are pro Medicare for all need to do the same, because we have to address this. Because the Republicans or opposition or even the Democrats are going to be like, see, we couldn't do it. But even to think that fine and excellent to make sure I have a good enough health, so people that need it will get prioritized over me. And I think a lot of younger people that are not taking care of themselves are an issue for that. I mean, if you're all about doing that, what are you doing? So when we do get it, what's another thing that you can do to make sure you don't override the system when it happens? So I know that's a little bit more like diving deep, but that's how I feel, when we try to get momentum, how to maintain momentum. I even apply what other things I can do personally to not prevent, barriers. But anyways, I don't know if that made sense, but
Yeah, like I say,
because
man, but I don't. If you will, like, if you right now, if you're trying to fight for Medicare for all,
mhm.
my opinion is Democrats and Republicans are not going to give that to you.
No, a lot of people, no,
If
I
you want
agree.
a living wage, Democrats and Republicans are not going to. They're gonna find a way, just like they find a way to vote bipartisan.
Well, I disagree with
They,
you there. In Texas, I can only speak what happens in my state. The increase of
sure.
$15 has definitely happened here.
Now,
A
now
lot.
when I say increase the minimum wage, that means everybody gets an increase in wage too.
I've said
I'm
momentum,
not
and that's
saying
momentum, man. I mean, it's gotten to a red state. It hasn't hit Mississippi, and Mississippi is like one of the lowest in every rubric, like West Virginia. So it doesn't surprise me to hear what you're having to say. And I can just tell you what happens in my state, and I'm glad that you're sharing what happens in your state. But
sure.
I mean, the only thing we can look at is the momentum, and some states always going to get the last ends of the benefits, and that sucks.
I mean, but like
Uh,
I don't know anybody that's gonna say no to more money other than people that are employers. I don't.
mm,
You can ask me somebody if they don't make how much money you worth. I'm more than worth $9.50 an hour.
that's
Because
debatable because some employers are realizing when
really,
they have happier employees due to higher wages, they perform better. There's been
oh,
studies.
you must have read that article from Politico, that garbage ass article that was written by. Look,
No, it applies to me
they
too. When they pay me,
Politico posted an article like, "Oh, it's
no.
good to make low wages." No, it's not, because if you can't pay for health care, you shouldn't have to have 2 jobs,
Mm,
3 jobs to make ends meet.
yeah.
If I work 40 hours a week, I deserve to be able to put food on my table, to have health insurance for myself,
Hmm.
to be able to afford that,
Mm.
to be able to cover my bills. And if I want to help my parents out, then I can understand getting 2 jobs.
I don't
The reason
think you should be able to work two jobs to do all two. You should have one job and still have time free. I mean, that's just my mentality.
that's never going to happen, because the way the non inflation's at 9%.
Well,
It's
you're
not
talking
gonna
to
happen.
somebody that has one job, and you're talking to somebody who was able to do
How much money do you make? How much money do you average a year?
probably between my I now I'm gonna go ahead and share some details with you.
Go ahead.
I
I'll show
probably make upper 60s thousands a year, and my wife makes probably a little bit more than I do.
Wow, you make 60. I make 20.
I'm telling you, that's what helps talking to other people from
I
this
make 20.
country.
I make 20.
I
And I
know.
can barely, I can, and when you got my wife not able to afford her insulin,
And
and
I'm covered
insurance
insurance
cuts it
with.
off, I
Mhm.
mean, my wife makes what, 18 an hour.
And then that one individual I shared with you that was talking to Amy Klobuchar, just him, he makes 400,000 a year.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying he
And I
advocates, but
don't
I'm
make,
just like,
I make, yeah, it's crazy because I got a tower loan. I've got loans I had to get out just to help. I mean, it's crazy because they're not trying to help us. If they was trying to help us, they would have voted, they would have put it on the floor. What is it going to do to hurt to put it on the floor for a vote? You can't do it in the pandemic, then they're not going to do it. It's that simple. You can't think of it. There's not going to be a better time to get a floor, even to get it on the floor vote. We got 3 firewalls. We got to go through the Congress, we got to go through the Senate, and then the president. And the president said, "Screw you, I'm already going to veto that."
hmm.
He said, "I'm not going to pass it." So Joe Biden wasn't gonna never had the intention to pass the Medicare for all. I mean, was it
I mean,
good?
he never
I
won.
think it was. I mean,
Joe
was it good
Biden didn't run on
tactic
Medicare
and
for
get a
all.
floor vote on it though?
He
I
didn't
mean,
run.
if Nancy Pelosi didn't want to bring it up to a floor vote, then that Nancy
She
Pelosi
doesn't
should have
want
been speaker.
Medicare for all. The people that are in power
The
didn't
people in
want.
Paris, the people in power obviously don't want Medicare for all either. If they
They
would have
didn't.
wanted, they would vote for it. They
And
would put
Joe
it up to.
Biden ran on the public option. That's why he won, because most people, that's what they want. I mean, that's like the ugly truth.
If you look at Joe Biden's Senate record, that's all you need to know about Joe Biden.
I
Joe
know
Biden
that.
is trying to cut Social Security. Like you're gonna tell me that this guy that's trying to cut Social Security 4 times, this guy that was in favor of warmongering,
Well,
this guy was torturing a
I've
journalist.
made all those
You can-
arguments to so many of
I'm
my
just-
friends
right. I'm
in the
just telling you,
primary.
man. You can say you're gonna tell me that it's like, okay, who would you rather vote for? A pedophile that molested 4 kids or a pedophile that's molested 2 kids?
I wouldn't.
I don't want to vote for a pedophile that molested any kids.
I know.
And if
I
you
don't.
got Howie Hawkins' platform saying the exact same thing as Bernie Sanders,
Mhm.
I'm going to vote for Howie Hawkins because that was up to Bernie. Bernie could have ran as an independent. Bernie didn't choose to. Bernie decided to stay within his party. Now Bernie has ran as a independent, and yeah, there's nothing I can do when you keep.
Well, the thing is, what's interesting about that concept, who would he debate? I mean, to be honest, I think people got to learn more about Sanders through the primary debate.
Well, he got cheated. I mean, he won Iowa by 50%. And then super delegates came in. So really, it doesn't really matter if you really vote or not, because the super delegates and the delegates are going to come in an override of what you voted for.
Perhaps in the general election, it's a little bit more challenging. But I mean, we could just look at the rubric of all the states in our country on who they vote for and see where they stand. I mean, that's just empirical data that's easily observable to any reasonable person. You know, I mean, you're reasonable. I'm not saying you're not. You're not ignoring the fact that your state is ruled by Republicans. And I mean, just to hear the state of your condition, that's Republican states for you. Sure. And I'm not trying to, Democrat states is California.
Let me tell you something. Well, we got the lowest homeless rate anywhere in the United States right now. Wow. And the reason we got, yeah, we do, because we got a lot of people that build Habitat for Humanity houses here. We got a lot of good HUD houses here. And, you know, there is homelessness here. I'm not going to say that there isn't, because, I mean, and you could also say, well, y'all have a smaller population rate as well. That could also be the case, but you know, I've seen a lot of housing projects come up. I mean,
they're drinking contaminated water.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's just so it's just like one good thing gets canceled out by a horrible thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's still the pipes haven't been worked on since the '60s, just like the roads haven't. But I mean, you gotta. And
that's inexcusable. You know, here we are trying to like
California. I mean, it's the same thing. People sleeping under every bridge, the highest homeless rate.
Yeah, but a lot of why are people homeless in California?
You tell me.
I will, because where would you want to be homeless? Would you want to be homeless in a hot ass state like Texas? A lot of those people probably were not born in California. If they are, they're probably on drugs, and we need to fix that. But I'm assuming
I'd rather be homeless in a because I can always put on more clothes to stay warm. I can't.
Everyone has their preference, right? But I'm assuming, you know, you're probably going to want to go to a place where they probably have good social programs, which California does. And if you don't have a shelter, you probably want to go to a place where the climate's a little bit more accommodating. So that's just logic to me. You know, I'm not trying to justify California or anything, but when people ask me that, I'm like, well, if I was homeless, where would I want to go? Probably where they're nicer to me and where I don't die from the heat.
No, I wouldn't say they're nicer. I mean, they've destroyed homeless camps up there. I've seen them go and a few guys that were up there protesting, and they beat the shit out of them. And I got it. Like I say, that's why you talk about when we start talking about mutual aid. I got a guy, Fred Hampton leftist, Unholy Roman. He goes out there and gives them tents. He gives them tents. He gives them pizza. He gives them. I seen the guy. I seen Rome give someone shoes off his feet.
We need to give them homes.
Well, yeah,
a tent's not going to be good enough.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but they're not going to do that.
The reason I say that is not to be mean about what that guy's charity is about, but when they leave, they come back, that tent's gone. When they leave to go
Sure.
try to get a job,
So, but what are
their
they not
stuff's
even giving
gone.
them tents though?
Mhm.
They're not even giving them a tent. At least he's giving them a tent. He's
Yeah.
giving them pizza. He's
I
giving them
mean,
food. I mean, what is anybody else doing?
well,
Rome is doing the only good mutual aid right now going on is what he does is called Tour for the Poor. He just
hmm.
got back. He was at a gas station handing out free gas money.
I think
That's really what they did.
Utah was actually doing something a while back ago. I don't know how consistent they are right now. They were actually housing the homeless, because if you think about it, they're going
Right?
to get arrested. You're going to house them in a cell.
Yeah,
There's tax revenue getting up there. But if you
absolutely.
give them housing, you could
Yeah,
probably do some rehabilitation if they're drug addicts and give them some
that's
task and duty to clean up so they could pay their way through the system or whatever. And they can still contribute to society and eventually have a place that's secure. Well, not they have a place that's secure and eventually will lead to employment. So I don't know why people just don't think logically like that. They just see people and they go to assumptions. They were lazy. They deserve that outcome. And
you
I
know how
think
they got put in that situation. You can only assume how they
I
got put in that
I
situation.
agree. And some of them have kids to cater to.
Yeah,
So it's just like I can give you some examples of just like knowing kids that are living in cars and their parents are going in and out of motels. I mean, it's just sickening. And for you to say like they don't deserve health care, they don't deserve a house. I mean, we need to have some kind of housing that's regulated, maintained, and has a structure to it. Because a lot of conservatives will be like, well, we had like all these projects. And I was like, yeah. And that was something that wasn't like realistically implemented, because they would make huge buildings and just like cram people in there to do groceries. You'd probably have to wait 30 minutes to go to elevators that wouldn't get maintained. And I'm just like, it will create chaos if you don't put like an honest effort into it. And then you just say that so you could say you did something. There's a right way to do something and there's a wrong way to do something. And I just felt like efforts in the past to handle poverty were not as strategic as they should have been. And we should learn from those mistakes. But yeah, it's just like there's a lot of things that I feel like having conversations like you and I am having, it'll help people think more critically and take part in conversations that lead to solutions. And I see you nodding your head, so I assume you agree with the solutions
well,
I'm
yeah. I mean, but
tossing there.
you have to have solutions that. I mean, I just don't see
But they have to be backed by the
solutions,
people. Do you think a politician's gonna do that? They're just gonna
but
do
they're
what,
not. But
no,
that's the
because
only way
most
that
Americans
you
don't
have to
think this
have.
way.
Right, but you have to have a huge movement in this country, and you got what Black Lives Matter. You had a march for Medicare for all, and look who showed up. AOC didn't show up. Bernie Sanders didn't show up. I mean, none of them showed up. Cory Bush was the only one that showed up. So if you think you're trying to appeal to voters on
Mhm.
Medicare for all, you at least show up for a march. Nina Turner didn't even show. I mean, come on. It's like these people that claim to be for this.
They do other things to show their support. I mean,
What would be better? What would be better than to go for a march instead of okay? I'm gonna go to a gala and have a tax the rich dress on. Come on, man.
mm,
But and you got people outside the place protesting.
I mean,
They're
yeah,
not gonna put themselves in harm's way. And
I'm not gonna go ahead and say that's a good idea.
every time they protest, they gotta vet it. If they got a protest out there, they vet it through whoever's on Capitol, Nancy Pelosi. They gotta, hey, we're gonna protest out here, Nancy. Is that yeah, sure you what's the purpose of that?
Well, it's
I mean,
like you said. It's like you had made this point in the I can't even articulate what I want to say. Okay, I'm gonna rewind. But like you've already made this claim. If somebody tries to do something, they get taken out. So they
yeah,
probably have to take that into stake too, because that's a radical change to big pharma. That's a radical change to whoever has financial interests in the United States that are making money from that. And if I'm Bernie Sanders and I know that most Americans want the public option, and I'm the one that initiated this whole Medicare for all movement currently, because it was something that JFK discussed too, government ran healthcare. It's not
they've
new.
been trying to get it since then, and we
Yeah,
still can't
it's
get it.
not new. But you know what? There's only so much one person can do. And that's where I feel we the people, need to take more of an initiative to add to that momentum. And I understand some people are like, dude, I need this now. it's easy to become cynical because there's a lot of, like the story you shared. I mean, I'm not in a position to lecture you, dude.
I got more. There's
I
more.
mean, yeah, I
You want
know.
to
You
talk
probably
about my
know.
wife going
Oh
to work
God.
every day, throwing up every day in a
Yeah.
garbage can while she's talking on the phone?
Yeah.
I
So who am
mean,
I to tell you this
no.
is the
Yeah,
way
yeah,
it's supposed to
of
go?
course.
I'm not trying to do that at
But
all. But at the same time, I don't see a strategy if we, the people, don't encourage anyone. I mean, it's like a business. Okay, maybe they're not saying it right now, but when they say it, let's use them. We have to brand it better. And because we have to appeal to people that don't agree with us. And it's just not always
we
people
have
that
to
are in
talk to
power.
people to get, but they're just gonna gaslight us, or
How
they're
many
going
people in
to
Mississippi
politicians
are
gonna
for
get.
Medicare for all? And they're Republicans.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I've talked to a lot of people that I used to work with. A lot of black. Well, I've only worked in restaurants.
Mm,
Majority staff is black.
mm.
Now I've talked to people. I've talked to people like, yeah, man, I'm for that. But how are we gonna get that? I mean, it's.
Do
But
you
people
think they're
can't see that
apolitical and do
they're
they
accountable.
vote?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. They keep voting for Republican. That's the
There were
only thing they
blacks?
see. Yeah, well, some of them are. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of black people around here that voted for Trump.
That's interesting
It
because
is.
he didn't run for
I
Medicare
talked
for
to, and I
all.
was trying to say, I was talking to a guy in the gas station. He was a black guy. I said, "Why'd why'd you really vote for Trump?" He said, "Well, I mean, he fake news." I'm like, "Yeah, a lot of people when Trump debated, he changed the way people looked at the way you debate. You call out your leadership. You don't do softball like Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden stuff. Touching. He's my best friend. He's my best
Yeah.
friend. No, this is your political opponent right now. Your
Hmm.
political opponent doesn't care about Medicare for all. And when Nancy Pelosi was running, she was all about Medicare for all. Now she's not even
No,
for it.
you're
I wonder
right.
why that is. I know a good reason why that is because she's been bought off, just like a corrupt husband that does insider trading. I mean, just what that Nvidia thing, the computer chip, she just did that.
Yeah, and
They
that
passed the
brings
bill.
me
He's
into
corrupt.
and that
They are
brings me
all
to that
corrupt. Yeah,
multi-party system over the two-party system. You just said they're all corrupt. So my hesitance for
yeah.
being like all in with multiple parties in the United States, because I know I have some friends that are out from other parts of the world, because they would recommend, yeah, you need a multi-party system. Well, it's all that corruption and it's so powerful. It could probably seep into third party.
Sure, it
Uh,
could, but it's
uh,
never. It's third party candidates are always got the back against the wall.
yeah, because I
And
remember.
Jesse Ventura was talking about, so even if the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, he said it was like trying to herd cats,
Hmm,
trying to get somebody, even
yeah.
just the opposite parties to come together.
Have
Now
you
you
seen a
got Andrew Yang
libertarian debate? They're
Party.
crazy.
Joe Jorgensen got more votes than Howie Hawkins. But then again, you don't have anybody that covered Howie Hawkins. Jimmy Dore had him on his show. A couple
Exactly.
of people
That's
had him on his
why
show. You can't get recognition if you can't debate. You cannot win.
that's
Jimmy
why
has
you
said
have
this
to work
so
in the
many
two-party
times.
system. And I feel that's why Sanders went that route. He would have not been a known politician if it weren't for that. He
Oh
got into
yeah,
the
but you already
primaries.
knew what he stood for. So I mean, there's no doubt in my mind they cheated him once. They're gonna cheat him again. They did cheat him twice already.
Of
I mean, you're not
course.
gonna tell me, but he got 57, huge margin, and then huge delegate loss to Hillary Clinton. I'm talking about like by 10 or 12 delegates in Iowa. I'm like, how is that even possible?
Mm.
MSNBC is like, wow, did they just rig this election? I'm like, yes, they did. They did rig it.
Yeah, I mean, I probably might be aligned with what you said there, but
No,
uh
it was rigged. It's been proof. I mean, you and talk about Texas, didn't what I think last time didn't they have voter suppression there because they
well,
closed votes early
our
in Texas
problem is
and
gerrymandering.
minority. I'm talking about in huge Hispanic and Black areas.
Well, a
Didn't they
lot of
have voter suppression? I know they did in Michigan and Grand Rapids.
I mean, that's the thing. You're going to always have these dirty tricks in politics. That's why we have to win undeniably. And that's possible, but it just really relies on the momentum and we have to do the work. I mean, it's just something that, like, for example, gun rights. That's always relevant because people come up in droves to just be like, this is what we want. Uh, And now, I mean, I'm in Texas, and that's all these gun advocates are very political. They'll say what they want, and politicians won't dare question that.
That's not a, I mean, at least they get what they, you know, that's how you
They're
like
organized. We need to do the same
that's how
thing.
you get something done is you organize. Like truck
Exactly.
drivers, you do that. You shut
They
it down.
start at
You
no,
shut it.
they start at local levels.
Yeah.
They start at state levels. They're there for the meetings. I mean, it's not shutting anything down. They're
Well,
doing what
got
needs to, I mean, they're not, they're able to do, they just give you that look now. And to the politicians, like, what'd you say about my guns? I mean, they don't have to do anything like you just mentioned, because they're very organized to the part where they do what's supposed to be done.
right. But I mean, as long as opposition's not against them, they're not going to have their guns taken.
Well, I mean, I could say more of a liberal movement is with gay rights. I mean, majority of people are going to be, they went to local elections, they went to statewide elections, and now politicians, even Trump was waving the rainbow flag because people are organized and they do what's expected when it comes to that issue. So I think we need to do that for healthcare. We don't do that.
We
I
don't.
think, I mean, like you yourself, I asked you, who in Mississippi would be like for Medicare for all? You're just like, that's a good question.
It's a
Because
good question. I
we
don't
don't.
know. Well, the majority of black, you got to understand that this is a conservative state. This always will be a conservative state. Just like California will always be a liberal state. And
Texas is a
people
conservative state, and we welcome gays, but not anymore with the Supreme Court justice. They're doing stuff because we allowed a Republican to pick the Supreme justices.
I'm not saying that the. Hey, yeah, give me 1 second, baby. It's my tongue. I can.
Oh no, hey,
But no. But I mean, we're so disenfragmented that the system is always going to be in favor of oligarchy. It always is.
it's going to be in favor to the people that vote. I
Well,
mean,
even if you vote, your vote doesn't count because in the end, delegates still vote, and
uh,
delegates votes are the only votes that matter.
well, you could become a delegate.
You can become a delegate if you're corrupt. Yeah,
No,
you
a normal
obviously.
surgeon.
Well,
No,
maybe
you could have become a delegate in the Democratic primaries, and then you could become I forgot, super delegate. I filled in to become a
super
delegate.
delegates. Oh yeah, they're really on.
I mean, the thing is, I don't think people, I think they get disenfranchised and they get like desensitized and de-incentivized to take part in politics right now. And it's like I asked you and you didn't really tell me directly. You just said, well, I'm working all the time. You didn't take advantage of the Obamacare health care. But
No, I did. I couldn't afford it.
oh, you
When I
still
say
couldn't
I
afford.
couldn't afford,
Oh,
when I'm
okay. I
paying,
misunderstood
when
you
I'm
then.
paying bills at two households, and
Mm,
my mom and dad are about to lose their house,
gotcha.
for my health care.
No,
Look,
I hear you.
so my daughter's going to start kindergarten.
Mhm.
My father has already accepted the fact that he's fucked. I've
Mm.
already accepted the fact that I'm fucked. I don't want my daughter to go through life and saying she's never going to get health care. She's never, I mean, she can move to Denmark and go get paid. They'll pay her to go to school and everything. Yeah, she gets
Yeah.
health care. I mean, so, you know, really, it's like, they're like, and people always say, well, why do you stay here? Why do you stay here? Because I have family here. I have family here, and this is where my family is.
Yeah, and it's an
I
expense to
can't up,
relocate.
and you people can't afford to go to a
Exactly.
protest. You can't because it's the system is designed. Capitalism is designed to
Mhm.
keep you poor for a reason. It is going to keep you poor. You're not
Well,
going to get out of this hole. I mean, it's designed to. You have to be. You're not going to tell me that Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, didn't get their kind of money for no reason.
well, let me ask you a
Money
question.
for a reason.
When a person that comes from another country that doesn't speak the language, English,
Sure.
and they're able to come in here and make a life for themselves, you're going to have a hard time convincing them of I'm not saying I'm unsympathetic, but like, for example, Cubans are known to be conservatives.
Sure.
Telling your story to somebody from Cuba or telling your story to somebody from Nigeria, who is another ethnicity, minority that's considered very conservative, they probably won't be very sympathetic to what you have to say because they've seen poverty too. So how would you convince somebody like that to consider your plight?
Well, I can only tell them my story, and then I don't know what they get, what kind of things that they get when they come over here. I don't know what kind of programs that they're enrolled in to
Mhm.
help them out to become citizens. You know, people are like, oh, America is a land of opportunity. Yeah, you can make money, but I mean, you're not gonna like billionaire. I mean,
No.
you can say what you want to. I mean, but I don't see too many people from Norway, Sweden, Finland coming over here and get rid of their citizenship.
Well, I mean, if they're I mean, the thing is about the United States, if you have the business interests, you can make a lot of money
Oh
because
yeah,
we have a lot of big consumerism in here. I don't think people in Finland will probably be interested in buying all the junk Americans are willing to buy. So if you're from another country and you have something to sell, you'll be pretty well off here in the United States. But the thing is, I think people just look at it either that way or your way. And I think we have to consider
I can
both
only,
ways.
like I say, I can speak from my
Mhm,
my personal experience. And when I say I can afford Obamacare, because
mhm.
I'm trying to help my family out, and you don't know what, like I said, you don't know what that person's going through.
No, and I don't think you
Couldn't
should
go to
be in a
I could not go
situation where you
I
have to
could not I
choose
could
like
not go
that.
to college. I could not go to college because my parents would have lost their house.
No, I hear you, dude.
I chose to help my parents over my education.
Well,
So
that's the
yeah,
thing. You
I could,
shouldn't
and
be
right
put in a
now,
situation
yeah,
like that in the
and
United
right now, and
States.
guess what? Right now, I could go and right now I could say, screw you to my dad and stop
No,
taking
man.
care of him. No, no, no. And then I could go right now and get a job that
Mhm.
pays almost $80,000 a year right now.
Well, that's the thing.
But I choose to take care of my dad because that's the way I am.
I have some
Family,
questions about that. Can I
family,
ask some questions?
sure.
Because one of the scenarios that you two scenarios I have questions about, like how you were saying you just want your kid to have insurance and you're happy and that makes you feel good because she's insured. But if the sole breadwinner, God forbid something happens to you, I mean, that's equally, in my opinion, a bad outcome. And also, if you're able to make $80,000 a year, you would be able to accumulate resources that would be able to help your father too. So I'm
Sure.
just curious, why wouldn't you take that? Because that's what a
Because
conservative from Texas, like, guy said he could make 80,000. He could take care of his whole family. Why would he? I mean, why would you not do that?
because the last CNA that tried to take care of my dad, he dropped him in the floor.
Oh my God.
The like I said, he has Parkinson's.
Hmm.
He tried to commit suicide twice. I can't do right now. My situation is I can't do anything, and I'm not saying I'm waiting for him to kick the bucket.
Yeah.
But right now, my situation is I can't do anything because I decided to put him first. I can't do anything until something happens, to him. If something happens to him,
You just
Now,
it's not the fact that you're
I'm
putting
also
them
looking for a night job
Mhm,
because my schedule has to revolve around him.
exactly.
I have to
Yeah,
I have to
just
be there to take him
trusting
to he sees a
somebody is
neurologist, he sees a dentist, he just got all his teeth
gotcha.
pulled. He's got a basic general practitioner he goes to see. He has to have somebody take him to those appointments. My mom's disabled. She can't, she's on a walker. She gets out every now and then, but you know, grocery store every now and then, but still I still do most of the errands for him.
No, I hear you, dude. I mean, you have another full-time job when you get
And
home.
I take care of my kid when I'm there.
Yeah, I
Because I
mean, for
can't afford
sure.
childcare. So I take just imagine these
Oh,
people that work at Waffle House. And they're like, I mean, all these
I
filters.
know.
Oh wow, look at this. It's such a great story. She has her kid with her. No, it's not a great story. She shouldn't have her kid with her.
Yeah.
How is she
No,
supposed to do a job and watch her kid at the same time? What kind of
I
filter story is that?
no, I totally agree with you. And I
You're
just think
80.
people get so
My
disconnected.
grandmother, when my grandfather was dying in a hospital bed, my
Mhm.
mom was working tip jobs and staying where taking care of my dad. My grandmother was out running the roads, 80 years old, picking
Jeez.
up briefcases this big, and I couldn't even lift them to get them in her trunk. My grandma would just put one hand, and she had a Grand Marquis. She had a huge trunk. She sold costume jewelry. That's what she did.
You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes because I just tell
But what kind of
people
life is that for an 80-year-old woman? It's been like this. It still hasn't changed. It hasn't changed, and it's not going to change because nobody wants to implement this change.
I think you're probably gonna have more of that mindset being where you're from.
And
Uh,
we can talk about this another 4 years. What happens? We can talk about this another 4 years. And hey, if I'm wrong, hell, I love to be wrong. I hope I
you're
am.
not.
I hope I'm wrong about this because I don't see any change coming from either party. People are so scared to vote for somebody new because it's not been done before. Jesse Ventura, you can look. He was the only guy that ever won independence. Okay, no affiliated party, Green Party or whatever party he ran. I think it was.
I think it was like
It was somebody. Yeah.
Libertarian Independent Party. I don't know.
No,
Ross
hey,
Perot did pretty
yes, it
good.
was Ross Perot. Why you think they won't let nobody debate since then? You
Well,
got
because I can tell you why. Because the RNC and the DNC run the debates.
That's right.
Before, I forgot, it was like the women's. I
So
forgot.
that's how you know they're corrupt, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Hillary Clinton was corrupt, Joe Biden's corrupt, Donald Trump's corrupt. They're all corrupt.
Yeah,
They all have. I mean, look at Venezuela. Nicolas Maduro was a freaking bus driver. Name me somebody that can become president of the United States that's not a millionaire. That's the actual bus driver that goes in, that gets, hey man, I'm running for president. That ain't gonna happen.
mhm.
I don't know. You can't tell me just somebody off the street that's gonna go in that's like a freaking fry cook and win president of the United States. Mayor or something like that, city council, yeah, but president, no.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, even if we allowed for people to become president with that kind of economic status, I mean, what makes you think they're not going to be corrupt either? I mean, it ultimately comes up to us, we the
Anybody can be
people, to hold
corrupt.
them, huh?
Yeah, anybody can be corrupt. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately up to us, the people, to do our jobs a little bit more efficient, a little bit more engaging. I mean, because if you measure our political engagement with other countries, it's just sad. It really is. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things I was talking to with James. I was like, we have to address the people too. We have to put accountability on ourselves, not on you. I mean, I'm not trying to lecture you again, but in general, as Americans, because a lot of people don't even care about what people are like in Mississippi. They don't care, especially some Democrats. They probably use divisive language to people in the South. They dehumanize them. We'll go over there, redneck or whatever. And I'm like, hey man, there's a lot of cool people that are rednecks. I mean, don't. It's like, I see that online all the time.
My
So
dad was Italian. You know, he was born of a Delta. So I mean, he's also he's got a lot of Cherokee in him. So he's mostly
gotcha.
Italian and Cherokee. So
Yeah, he's an American dude.
I
And
mean,
a lot of people just need to get out of their grandstanding and just actually looking at issues and caring for people. I mean, I think a lot of people just live in their little bubbles, their little church community. They feel blessed. I mean, they don't really look outside of that. And
yeah.
that's why I hope to, normalize with these videos. So people know people's stories, and they're going to realize that everyone's needs are going to be different, but we need to address it because
Right. And this is the class issue. This is not a Republican issue, Democratic issue. This is a class
it's a
issue.
working class issue. People are
Yeah.
not getting paid what they're worth.
If I work 40 hours a week, I shouldn't have to worry about anything. Child
And
care,
you ain't lazy.
nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing. I
I
should have
concur.
time off. I don't have that with 60 hours or 80 hours a week or 110 hours a week. I still didn't have that. I was working 110 hours a week and I still wasn't making $1,000 a week after taxes. I was making $976 average.
So I'm just gonna.
110 hours a week.
So I'm gonna assume. Okay, I think I listed my solution opinions. What do you think would be an effective solution that's realistic in our country to address these issues, dude?
We need a mutual aid that helps people out. We need a mutual aid that people are like Democrat because I don't see any help coming from the government. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
The only people that are going to help us out is us. We're the only ones that's going to help us out. So if you got like today, there was a guy I think Attila of a Nut on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
He was asking, man, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna put groceries on my table. I retweeted that out. He said, "Oh my God, thank you so much." I guess he got something money on his Cash App, and that's how you do it. You need somebody to come on here and say, "Listen, I'm going to help you pay. I'm going to help as many people as I can within this community. If you can just give $1 a day or $1 a week, and then I'm going to pay off one of your credit card bills.
I mean, that's
I'm gonna pay off. Well, you got to start somewhere. It's small,
yeah.
but even if I help you, you think maybe you instead of $1 a week, maybe you can give $2 a week from now on.
Mhm.
We got to have some kind of mutual aid, because donating to politicians isn't solving anything. They're only in it for their own interest.
Mhm.
I mean, like I say, man, it's crazy, but it's true.
Mhm.
Nobody's helping me out. Donald Trump, Donald Trump took off the penalty on insurance that was imposed by Barack Obama. So really, we're just back to square one now, because it shouldn't have even happened in the first place.
Well, Biden had the child tax credit. Did you not benefit from that?
Temporary. What
Mhm.
good is a temporary
And
tax credit?
well, I
But
mean,
what
you
can I pay off?
Trump's
What can
yeah,
I
Trump's
if it was going to be benefit? People are so imposed on temporary change.
I know, I agree.
I'm not looking for temporary change. I'm looking
Mhm.
for permanent change.
I want permanent change and change that's not just
So
minuscule.
a
Minuscule
mutual aid
change
that
is
helps
not
people
good either.
permanently, it
How
keeps.
much was the fee that Trump waived from the healthcare?
Oh, it was, well, I went to my CPA, and my CPA was like, wow. So wow, because I figured it out with Obamacare. I was going to The penalty was going to be less than it was for the insurance.
Mhm.
So I decided to take the penalty.
But
Luckily, I'm one of the lucky ones that had a good CPA. Was like, well, really, you don't make that much, so we can just claim that you don't make enough money to pay the penalty, and then we'll go from there.
okay.
So, and
Well,
it worked
so
for me.
I
A
mean,
lot, it did
Trump's
work out for a lot of people.
waiving of the penalties insignificant change. So I mean that
Well, if it was going to be permanent, then we would still be having this penalty. So, say Joe Biden was elected president instead of
what I'm saying is
or
like
Hillary Clinton
either
was elected
one,
president.
temporary and insignificant change is no change.
That would have been a penalty that we would still be paying on today, though, if it
Yeah,
was not removed by Donald Trump. Now,
gotcha.
I'm not giving credit. I mean, you got to, like you said, you said you got to give credit to where Biden, where it's,
I don't think Biden deserves credit. I'm just saying in a holistic fashion. I just
if
look
it
at
was
things
gonna be,
objectively.
if it was good, look, UBI
Mhm.
all the time would be good.
Yeah,
But
they do that in
UBI
Alaska. That's a red
every
state.
month,
Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, Alaska, shoot, it snowed like crazy. So
mhm.
when you're snowed in, you can't go anywhere. So
and
they
that's
would have no choice to do that in Alaska.
and that's
Literally,
what's
you
so
snow in, it's
crazy.
over.
That's done in a Republican state, and all the talking points of like people relying on government, you know, money is being proven wrong in a red state. People are going to become lazy depending on the government. And it's like, no, they add on to that income with their jobs and they build upon their wealth. That's what most people are going to do. They'll save their money, they'll have savings accounts, they'll invest in their kids. But
Yeah,
the talking points made by conservatives on both sides, because I feel like the people that are against stuff like that are conservative Democrats and conservative Republicans.
sure.
They don't really uh value regular people getting more wealthy, because I feel like if that happens, they'll be able to do things that will be competitive to their interests. So, you're going to have somebody that starts up a program that competes with Twitter, or you might have somebody that starts a program that competes with something else that's already established and wants to maintain their power.
Yeah, you got
So,
Rumble now. You got, it's what happens when you censor people.
yeah.
I don't believe anybody should be censored. You have a right. If you want to go watch, if you don't want to watch a rated R movie, don't watch the rated R movie. You've seen the trailer. If
I
you don't
mean,
want, don't watch
just
it.
stick to what it's protected under our First Amendment. I mean, if you're encouraging violence, that's not protected. So that'll be censored and you'll pay the consequences for doing something like that. So I'm fine with some kind of regulations. I don't want to just be like, yeah, do what you want. And
Well,
we'll see some stuff.
if you know that person, you know what they're about. So you really don't have to look. Like I said, if the Klan wants to look, so like there was a while back, what the Klan wanted to march on Harlem.
Hmm.
The mayor said, "Okay, I'll let the Klan march on
that,
Harlem."
that's
But
happening in
he
Mississippi
said,
right now. How
"No, no,
long
no,
ago
no,
was
no,
that?
no, 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 no." But he said, "But if the
Oh,
Klan marches on Harlem, guess what?
what's
I'm
that?
not going to have any police officers out there." And so guess
Where was
what?
this at?
The Klan didn't end up. This was in Harlem. I
Oh,
think back. I
oh, oh
forgot what
yeah,
year it
Harlem.
was.
I'm sorry.
Back in the
Yeah,
day, Harlem. No, no, no,
yeah,
no, no, no.
yeah.
They
I'm
got
sorry. I had a
PO box.
brain fart.
The
I'm just
Klan has a
like,
PO box in Petal, Mississippi. Here, no.
okay,
I've actually got flyers in the mail from them.
from the
We,
Klan.
yeah,
Oh
we've
my
got flyers.
God.
It's something to do about like this guy molested. I
Oh
don't know.
man.
It
Because
was a.
I was like thinking if the Klan goes
I don't
marching
know.
anywhere in
I just
Mississippi,
yeah.
they don't care if cops come or not. They're like, "Oh,
We
whatever, we got
man,
it under
they
control here."
man, cops ain't gonna man. Cops get here when the crime's over and done with. Man, they don't. They hardly get here to stop a crime. Man, they just get here when they get here. So, um, but yeah, man, it's like, yeah, he said, man, if y'all want to march, y'all can march, but I'm not putting my cops out there to get. Y'all can have at it.
Golly.
You know, hey, that's to me that was like okay, that was a pretty decent solution, and they didn't end marching. So okay, we ain't marching then shit. Okay. Y'all not gonna have protection for us? No, no.
Well,
So
I mean, the thing is, there's no easy answer, unfortunately, and I don't claim to know solutions, but I do really think having those dialogues are important,
yeah, it is.
because people will start to probably not just be uh, informed right here, but maybe stories will affect them right here too. And hopefully it just makes, the conservatives on my Facebook and, and people that see the video drop, they'll be like, you know what? Yeah, man, I'm a centrist. Maybe I probably need to support more consistently politicians in my area that are more progressive and my state that are more progressive, because that's going to add momentum to the national dialogue and get policies pushed, not just in my state, but in Mississippi too.
Well,
But
like I
if
said,
people are just in their interest of what matters in their state, they don't care what happens in other states. I mean, that's just going to prevent the momentum from happening. So,
like I said, we have a manufacturer. What I think Halliburton or somebody has a
mhm.
manufacturing place. Nobody's out there protesting, man. Nobody is. You're not gonna make people go out there and protest weapon manufacturer here. I don't see that happen. I
Well,
mean,
because I think you have to touch people on what things they
you
could
do.
tangibly see. I mean, a lot of people are not going to be on the note on the level with foreign policy. That's like your typical American doesn't know where certain countries are on the map. So you can't expect them to know like what's going on. I think, but when you talk about economic issues in your story, that will affect people's mindset more than what's happening outside of our country.
And also too, I talked to a guy online, and I was in the way when I said Medicare for all, he's like, so you want? So let me get this straight. He said you want to mandate me to pay more in taxes for health insurance. And I was trying to figure out a way. Well, I said that I don't. You don't? Do you agree with K through 12? Getting paid for? I
Well, I
mean,
got
didn't
something you could have told them that would have probably been more effective. That's why I said we have to organize.
yeah.
Uh,
I
he's
mean,
like,
but he
no,
wasn't budge on
I'm
it.
not advocating for you to pay more. We already pay a lot of money to all these
Told him that
bogus
too.
expenses. We could just redistribute stuff. And people that don't have health care are going to be more of a liability if you let their health decline. So if you take care of people in the United States, which you're a fine patriot, you probably consider yourself, that'd be the right thing to do. Not only a patriotic thing, but a Christian thing to do. So quit being an ass.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell somebody to be a better human being. And he's like, well, so you wanting to pay for, like I said, I've talked to a lot of people about it. I've talked to liberals about it. I've talked to conservatives about it. As a guy at work, I said, so let me get this straight. I said, you got 3 kids.
Mhm.
So I'm okay with paying for your 3 kids' health care, but you don't. So I'm down with that. I have 3 jobs,
Mhm.
and I'm okay with paying more for your
Mhm.
3 kids' health care, but you don't want to help me pay for me and my one. And I shut him down. Sometimes you mean because you just can't,
Well,
but
another thing,
I'm trying to figure out.
that's an expense that you don't have to worry about anymore. So your money's going to be circulated into other places where he might see the benefit. I don't know what his job was, but what if people spent more money in the business he's at and he gets a raise from it? So everyone benefits when people have less debt to worry about. And that's what people don't realize. I mean, medical debt should be non-existent. It's non-existent in a lot of developed countries.
Right.
And people just are in their echo chamber and they come up with goofy things like that. It's like, why wouldn't you want it? That would be a better question to ask yourself.
Sure.
And yeah, so it's just like you have to give them an argument. And if you don't feel confident or if you don't have the resources to do that, I mean, here I am. I mean, we compared what we make annually. I have no problem if I had to pay more to help people. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just the right thing to do.
That's,
And you
yeah.
know, it's just like if you want to have that moral high ground and you claim you're a conservative Christian, you're not going to win that. I'm a Christian too. So I attack them right in their own beliefs. You know, it's just like, okay, well, let's go ahead and compare your values with mine now, because obviously you want to play that game. You know, we need that kind of aggression and that confidence because being an ex-right winger, I have that. So
Yeah.
when someone wants to go that route, I'm like, okay, well, I'm down. Let's do this, dude. But at the same time, I don't want to go ahead and just say my way is the right way, but having that conversation allows people to make that decision
Sure.
themselves.
You gotta talk to people on both sides of the aisle. And I mean,
Mhm.
but like I said, I mean, it's good to have solutions, but if they're still following the status quo, and we
Mhm.
both can agree that the status quo is not working,
It's
it's
not
only
working because
it's
people
only
aren't.
making things worse.
Well, like you just said, you talked to both liberals and conservatives, and I interpret that with that conversation, that example you gave me, that they both are selfish. They both say, well,
Of
I should
course.
pay. So I'm just like, we have to convince that part of the problem because as long as that exists, why should the politicians worry about issues? I mean, they're going to get voted for by that person. They only care about who elects them. And if we don't take part in elections that challenge that, there's not really a motivation for a Mississippi representative to change their mindset to help the people because they got people that are willing to tell you that to your face to vote for them still or
Look,
to.
Benny Thompson has been elected, and this is exactly why I believe there should be term limits. Benny Thompson, look at Trent Lott and whoa, what's that other guy's
Well,
name?
what I mean, having term
I
limits,
mean, just
I
it was
think
he
that's,
said, I'm just sick. I can't do it no more.
yeah.
I mean, you know, they still gonna do it, vote for the same people.
Mhm.
I mean, I can't. That's just how they are. I mean, you see, Trump is gonna be Republican. You're gonna see a lot of
You're
Republican
doing
flags. You're
something
gonna see
right
a
now,
lot of
man.
Republican bumper stickers here.
Yeah, you're
I
doing
mean,
something
that's
right
just
now because, like you said, it's a federal issue too. You know, if some people from other states see this, I mean, this adds more momentum. And if people have similar stories like you, do this. Hopefully, that gets the attention of people to be like, you know what? Damn, Mississippi is hurting right now. You know,
well, a huge mutual outreach. It doesn't matter if you work. You
that's
need
what our taxation should be about.
well, we
But
need a
it's not.
mutual aid that's going to focus on working class people. I don't care if you're a Trump supporter and if you're a freaking mechanic and you work out there in 100-degree weather. I mean, and you busting your ass and you're not getting paid and you having trouble making a credit card payment. I'll pay it off for you. I've my wife's giving people free cars. We've done stuff. We've given away free stuff. We've given away free TVs. We've given away free clothes. I mean, we've given away free stuff to people that free baby toys, free baby clothes, free diapers, free wipes. That's just the way we are. That's how everybody should be. But I
That's
can't
the
speak
way you
for
are,
everybody.
unfortunately, due to necessity, because people can't
But
afford the basics, and that's ridiculous.
that's why we need mutual aid. So I'm thinking about starting one and just being like, listen, we've got to come together because we're not getting any help. Superman's not coming to save us. Nobody's going to come to save us. Nobody's going to get us out of this except us. And if we start out small, we help a small. Rome. I'm not trying to take anything away from Rome because Rome is the reason why I'm thinking like this
Mhm.
in terms of mutual aid in general. Because he goes out and he helps the homeless directly, and he also goes like, "Hey man, you need some gas money? I got you, dog. I got you. Here's some gas money. If you need, this man had diapers and wipes up to his garage ceiling,
Yeah.
and he goes and he loads his car up with pizzas. Just goes and gets it. Just he's doing more than I can. You know, and like I said, you should check him out.
It's admirable. Yeah, no, I think that's
I
something
mean,
that,
he's got good things going on, man.
yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm assuming Mississippi is a good area where you could probably have community gardens and
that's what
all
I'm trying
that.
to start. I'm trying to find. I was talking to a guy. I was trying to build above ground gardens out wood because wood's outrageous right now. I can build it with cornerstones and sheet metal and corrugated roofing, and I can
Mhm,
do that. And I can now topsoil. I don't know how expensive fertilizer is, but fertilizer is kind of pricey. But I don't really
mhm.
know too much about landscaping. I'm trying to research about cross pollination of all these crops and stuff like that. How it's good to have more than one, but
Yeah,
I
I'll
also
send you some links of what I
rotate
do.
crops. Yeah, yeah,
Because I buy some fruit trees and I've
yeah.
been looking into aquaponics. I think that's, or did I say that right? Yeah,
Think
you
so.
just use water because I don't
Right.
have a big lot. So,
Sure.
and I used to have a chicken coop, but now we have a HOA. And
Right.
speaking about democracy, you know how many people show up to the HOA?
Mm.
Not very many. So the smaller the democracy is, unless it's the national election where people are tossing insults, people don't get engaged. So that some of that accountability should be tossed on us too. So, that's one of the things that I do to promote that. And when we have extra, I definitely give it to people. And I was definitely wanting to, because there's more homeless in our city, to just toss them whatever we have left and help out that way too. But my fruit trees are still babies. We got figs, we got pomegranate. And yeah, I mean, that's something that you could do is planting a tree. So
Absolutely.
that's something that'll bloom in abundance. But you need vegetables. And I was thinking like the vertical aquaponics. I don't even know if I'm saying it right now. So if I misspoke, I
No,
apologize.
it's cool. This is all great to me. I'm still
But
learning.
that's like something because fertilizer is expensive, and then just having soil that's consistent and it can cater to that. I mean, the water just gets reused over and over, and it uses less water. And I'm trying to figure it out, but yeah, that's something that I wanted to do. And I made videos. I have another YouTube channel. It's called Urban Homestead, and to educate people and people in my community, I would have gave whatever I had in excess, but we moved and now I'm in an HOA. So I'm just like, dang it, can't do that.
Right.
So yeah, man, I think that would be a good start. And just, hey, if you want me to go ahead and spread it when you guys have like more organized website and all that or whatever, I
Absolutely.
could do
But
donations. I'll do
I
my part
believe,
to help you guys get
sure.
more.
We appreciate it, man. Like I said, we're not, nobody's going to agree on everything, dude. And I understand you can speak from, and right now, I'm just glad you and your family are healthy right now because I know you had COVID.
Mhm.
So, and I don't wish anything bad. I hate that guy. I wish his whole family get COVID. No, I mean, if I'm
No,
not one of them kind of people that spite somebody like that. I mean, if we disagree, I mean, it's cool.
I don't
I
think we
I
did
can
really.
understand.
Did we
Well,
disagree
yeah,
on anything?
I think we agreed on more than what we disagreed on.
Mhm.
But we can. I think we can agree that the status quo is not working. We've got to find another way, and the only way that we're going to find something is if we, the people, find a way.
Mhm.
I
Well,
mean, just
when
leaving
I when you
out of
say
the
status
equation.
quo, I'm just because I'm always inquisitive. I'm not trying to interrupt you because
No,
when you say
no,
something, I'm like, I have a question. Like the
no. Go
status
ahead.
quo, there's a rubric of what the status quo is. I think we only recognize the status quo on the general elections. I
Yeah,
talk to people about elections on the state. They're like, oh. I talk to people in elections for the local governments in their cities. They're like, oh. So, in
sure.
order to attack, it's like a video game. A lot of people want to go to the main boss of the whole game, and we haven't done a good job to find all the things on level 1, level 2, and level 3.
Sure.
And I even see that on something basic in my HOA. And that's the criticism I have for fellow Americans. I'm like, dude, Black excellence, they were involved in every part of the government. We can't say that we're doing everything we can do until we live an excellent
What
mentality like that.
they're doing everything they can do for themselves. I mean,
That's
a lot of them
true.
serve their self-interest and not
But
us
when
for the
blacks do
people.
better, other people do better too. And because it doesn't allow people to just look at people like nothing, because it was still a poverty issue too. Because if you're a poor white, you probably got treated just as bad as a poor black too.
Yeah,
So it's just like when they stood up and talked about what issues needed to be addressed, that helped everyone that was poor because they got to stand beside people that were in that civil rights movement. And it was called the People's Movement by
Sure.
MLK. So you have to organize and you have to do that part. And I know it's harder now because you're working like 3 jobs.
Well, not now. I'm only working with the one now, but I
But
was
still, you know, even
building.
where
But
you
I
were
am
working,
thinking about
there's
taking on. Yeah, I did that for 6 months,
and there's
and
still people that are doing the things that you do in Mississippi, and they're just like, "Man, I ain't got time for that." But at least,
yeah, it's hard. You can only really talk to who you work with. I mean, I
yeah.
can't really go out and have enough time to educate people on the state level because people, I've talked to people. Some people I can get across to. Other people, they just, I
Mm,
mean, and that's their opinion. I mean, I can't tell you to. I'm not gonna put a gun to your head and vote for Green Party, third party, whoever.
mhm.
You're gonna vote for whoever you want to vote for. I'm not here to vote a shame. I'm just trying to speak facts. I mean, yeah, you're right. Biden did but the
I'm here
tax,
to vote or shame.
the
I
child,
am. I'm not gonna
well,
lie. I'm here to say be excellent in every, not you, but in general.
yeah,
Because if people don't listen to your story and take that into their mind when they're voting, yeah, they should be shamed.
yeah.
There's
I
a
mean,
need that needs to be addressed.
but
Period.
the way that I'm seeing is when you talk about mutual aid, people want to have control of their own money and decide what to do with it. So that's the impression I got from that guy. So, okay, so he said I would be happy to love. Okay, so if I start a mutual, yeah, if I could afford it, yeah, I'd probably help you out a little bit. Okay, then. So mutual aid, I think is going to be the way to go.
For sure
But
in
I wouldn't
Mississippi,
say
I would think that would
like
be a good idea.
freaking corporation like Goodwill, or I mean, you can donate to Goodwill, that's fine, but homeless people can't afford clothes. You still got to pay for stuff when you go to Goodwill. It's not a
Yeah.
lot, but people don't have. We put all our stuff out. We like you want a freaking oven? We just put our oven out to the stove. Somebody can pick it up.
No, that happened in
Furniture,
our old
we put it
neighborhood.
out to the road. Somebody, we post something. Hey, anybody want a free TV? Come pick it up. Boom.
Yeah.
Anybody want a free sofa? Hey, come and pick it up. We got a
Yeah.
refrigerator. If somebody wants it, come pick it up.
No, and
So
that's actually a reality check people need to realize.
people
I
can't.
mean, we lived in a good area where our first home was, and we were like assuming, yeah, no one's going to pick this up. But yeah, somebody picked up, the things that we were going to throw away. And I was like really surprised. So it's just, I think some other things that might help people is just to do like a basic social experiment. And I see this in Texas. I'm like, you know what? If you don't think things are bad, why don't you go to Walmart in the morning or go to some retail store that opens up early? That shift is usually going to show you all the old people still having to work.
Yeah,
They should not have to
lawn
work
and
anymore.
garden people. I think they stopped doing people greeting for a while. Even they had to I think when they reinstated. Oh, I think the people greeter now is like the person that checks the bags when they. And like, man, self checkout is like, it's like they keep cutting people's.
We're in a transitional period,
Nobody
dude.
wants to go to the store and bag their own groceries. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, if I got to go bag my own groceries, shouldn't I be getting paid for it, or shouldn't I get a discount on my groceries if I got to bag my own groceries?
Well, some
That's
stores do
I
that.
want you. Yeah, I mean, yeah. When
Winco,
I was working at Kroger, if you brought your own bags, and I think it was like 10 cents or 15 cents
I
off
mean,
every bag you had.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because I'm like, I don't want to use more resources where we could be a little bit more conservative. And you should bag your own stuff. I think European countries are like that too, but we're very entitled. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
bag it for me. So, and I do understand it takes away jobs, but
it takes away jobs,
there's a
and it's
pros and cons
more
to
profit
everything.
margin for them. I mean, they made so much money out of COVID. I mean, these so many businesses made so much off COVID. They pretty much profited over it.
Yeah. No,
Not just pharmaceutical companies, but these retail stores. Man, I mean, come on, man. It's like you gotta. Or then now it's like everything's gone up. Now they're like, whoa, I can't afford chicken. Chicken. We just bought chicken now. I think it was like what freaking $15 for like a pack of chicken. Like what? It used to be
yeah.
like $9,
No, yeah.
$8.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
I like I said, there's no easy answer, but I think we have to start from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Every big social movement was credited to the minority class. Women's suffrage, Women didn't have a say, but they organized and they got involved in every branch of politics.
Yeah.
Civil rights, unions. They never really get to say, hey, we're going to talk to the president. They're like, I got to talk to my local leadership. I got to talk to my state leadership. It's not easy, unfortunately, but it works to the fact that people from other countries, that's how they do it. They got the same kind of pain, probably we do, but for some reason, they have different outcomes because people are just more engaged. And it's easy for me to say from place of privilege. I understand that. That's why I want to go ahead and use whatever privilege I have to get other people to realize, dude, we need to do something to just trying to flex our success onto other people and say, hey, pull yourself by the bootstraps, because that's just not the right thing to say. It's not the humane thing to say or do.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, like I said, we got to be able to change what's going on now, and the only way to do that now is to
mutual
stop
aid.
mutual aid.
Yeah.
Stop giving the politicians, man, because they're only in it for this stuff. I mean, you can
Organize a website and organize
Yeah.
something, and I'll go ahead and definitely do my part to help you guys
like I said, man,
as I can. It's all about organizing.
you should really. I don't know if you've heard of Fred Hampton Leftist, but like I said, Rome is doing some really good job. You can
Yeah,
follow him.
tweet them out to me so I can go ahead and
Yeah,
share it. I don't.
absolutely, man.
If you want to message that to me right now, we can go ahead and say
Yeah,
put them out there.
he does tour for the poor. I mean, he does a lot of good things. I'm actually in contact. I'm actually trying to get somebody to help him out to his cause. So
Does he have like a website or anything we could go ahead and give people?
no, but you can pretty much reach out to him on Twitter. I think he has I don't know if he has a Cash App or PayPal, but he does a lot of good things, man. He's
What's his name again? I'm sorry, I want to write it down.
Unholy Rome at Unholy Rome.
Unholy Rome.
Twitter, yeah.
Oh man, you're not gonna get a lot of conservatives to probably. He got to be strategic.
Well, I can tell you this. He's the only atheist and communist that I know that's doing this. So
I understand that, but he got to be strategic, man. It's like he doesn't want money from other people.
But he still but he still talks to people, man. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Okay, Unholy Rome. I'll go ahead and put it out there, man.
I mean, like I said, he's doing mutual aid. I mean, at this point in time, people don't care. I don't care if Joe Biden helps me right now. Prove me wrong, Joe Biden. Prove everybody wrong that we were wrong about you. I'll be the first one to apologize if you start helping out the working class people. Donald Trump, or whoever runs, prove me wrong. In the next however long my daughter's got in school, prove me wrong. I love to be proved wrong.
I mean, the only thing I can say,
I'll take it on the chin, man. I mean, but we need help, and we need help now. People,
it's not going to matter what I say on regards of Joe Biden's ability to do what he's been doing. He could always do more, but a lot of people like to complain about the gas, and it is expensive, but it's gotten a little bit cheaper. And compared to other places in the world, our gas prices are probably one of the cheapest because it's a world economic issue that we're facing right now. It's just not here in the United States, but that doesn't help you. It's like, oh, well, hey, then I'm fine. Yeah.
The raises, they're getting raises in other places in the world too. So we're not getting that. We haven't gotten a raise since George W. Bush gave us one.
And they got healthcare covered. They got some more social safety nets.
They got safety nets like crazy. So,
but I'm just saying that because if it was a Republican, they would be like, oh, look at this. But Joe Biden, I don't know what is. I didn't vote for him in the primary. Did I pick him over Trump? Yeah. Is it something that I'm just like have buyer's remorse? Well, not really. Those were the two choices I had, and I felt like I picked the best one. His COVID.
Well, I mean, you had 8 people on the ballot. So I mean, it was more. I mean, you had Joe Jorgensen. I mean, like I said, I don't know what she was.
I voted for Jill Stein in the last election. Yeah. So I mean, I voted Green before. And what's that do?
Sure.
No one's built a case.
But it's all about how much. And the people like who is. I told people who I voted for. They're like, who the hell is that?
Exactly.
They never heard of him. I'm like, well, no, because mainstream media won't cover him.
Well, I mean, mainstream media doesn't always cover all the candidates that are in the parties too.
People didn't know who is that. You don't know. Yeah, it's just not Green Party.
See how Andrew Yang got treated?
Yeah, of course. I
So
mean,
it doesn't
but
matter. It's just like you have to be strategic and you have to do things to get yourself noticed. No one would have thought like a 70-something-year-old man from Vermont would get all this popularity, but he marketed himself. He was very strategic. He
it's out of
went to
the shape,
Trump country. He went to Fox News. A lot of Democrats won't do that. One Democrat that I really like is John Featherman from
yeah.
Pennsylvania. So hopefully he does some good things and get some momentum to help people, not just in his state, but everywhere. I mean, all our states are our country, because people in Mississippi need help. I'm quite aware of that. That's why I will vote for people that'll push the momentum
I
for our
really
tax dollars.
Kashama Sawant would run. I mean, Kashama Sawant's really good too. If she would run for public office, but right now anybody who runs third party, uh, has been really good. But I just think they're just gonna try to keep them off ballots and cheat them again because nobody right now is really comfortable with the two parties that they have, the two choices that they have right now. No, a lot of people don't want Joe Biden to run again.
No,
Even they're like, Joe Donald Trump, please no.
I
Hillary
don't
Clinton,
know.
God no. I
I
mean,
mean, that's what
please,
the media is telling
you
us,
know,
but I know a lot of his supporters, and they're just like, "Yeah, run." So, so I
yeah,
mean, that's what they said in the past about Trump. They try to
yeah,
downplay him before,
uh,
but the only issue he has is the Republican Party and DeSantis. You know, DeSantis has ambitions too,
oh yeah.
so it'd be interesting to see that a dynamic. Maybe DeSantis will be like, "Yeah, I'll be his vice president, and when he's done, I could continue my reign on the Republican Party." But I think the Republican Party do not like how the Trump effect has taken over their party, because like Republican values have to kiss the ring to President Trump
They all
now.
kiss the ring. They all kiss the ring to Nancy Pelosi. They bend the knee. They kiss the ring. They do everything but wipe the butt, man. They don't know.
Oh, they do that, man, as far as I'm
Oh, they will,
concerned.
of course they do, bro. Mitch McConnell, same thing. I mean, like I say, man, and it's weird though. People just don't. That's why people have turned to alternative sources for media.
Yeah.
If you watch Jimmy or you watch Kyle or if you watch whoever you watch or if you
Mhm,
watch, whoever. I mean,
mhm.
people have lost faith in mainstream media. They just have.
Yeah. I
And
like Bo or the fifth
you gotta
column.
find alternative sources
Yeah.
to, I mean, to figure out who really supports, or even if you can call them a grifter or whatever. I mean, but I don't
I have
know
a pretty
who
diverse
you really
media
resonate
diet.
with,
I watch conservative media outlets. I mean, but most of the things I do is just like if I see something, I'll reference data to see if it's accurate. And I know what policies are getting ran in my state, and I can just have my personal life experience. Because right now we're getting energy advisories from the grid again. I'm like, okay, Texas is known to be hot in the summertime. Why is this an issue still? I mean, the
Y'all's
last thing.
grid, man. I don't know why they did. So, do you think they should have winterized y'all's grid?
Well, the thing is, that was a freak winter storm.
True.
So I'll let them slide with that. But they upcharged the utility bills for so many Texans so they could make up for all the repairs and all the stuff they need to do in the grid. And then now it's happening when summer's here. So I'm like, okay, I thought this capitalistic nature of allowing private business to maintain uh, grid services would be the route to go. You know, if people utilize a private business mentality, that improves the service, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it doesn't, because if they're still saying, oh, we didn't foresee the fact that people would need more energy, after all our Texas politicians are saying, hey,
Right.
California business, come on down. Hey, people from the coastal cities, come on down. I'm like, the housing development in this area in North Texas is unreal. I mean, just housing communities are as big as a small town. It's just like a big suburban area. I'm like, they got their own like elementary schools in a housing complex. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy moly. I remember this is all country. I mean, I came from a rural area, so I'm just like seeing a lot of my little rural area just being consumed by nice homes now. But all these California people and all these New York, the person who bought our home was from New York.
Oh wow.
So, and she paid 5,000 over the asking limit.
Wow, that's
I'm just
great.
like, dang. And then we bought our home for 97 and we ended up selling it for 280,000.
Mm.
That's how crazy the markets have been getting. So I definitely feel sorry for people that are inheriting that economy. And for me to say, yeah, pull yourself by the bootstraps to a person that's just barely getting her life together here in Texas, that's not.
Anywhere, man. I mean, you just can't,
I'm not
you
going to be that old man saying, when I was in your age, I used to
oh
like,
God.
because when I was your age, I bought it for probably $97,000. When I was in your age, my apartment wasn't more than a mortgage.
Yeah.
So that just sickens me when I see older generations
And then when you got,
flexing
and
on
then you
younger
got,
kids.
I've got no, I mean, Joe Biden had a little thing a while back. It's like, I've got no respect for young people. None.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm like, what? What are you talking about? They are so under, like, what? People working 2 or 3 jobs right now, bro. What are you talking about? Have you
Yeah.
not checked? Do you not know what student debt is right now compared to what you were when you were in school compared to what
Yeah.
it is
In the
now?
1960s, they had like tuition
That's
free
another reason why I
universities.
can't afford it. I can't afford to go to school.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I couldn't even. I tried to get a grant. If you can't get a grant, I'm not gonna pay to go to school.
yeah, go. I mean,
I
that's
gotta
what
go to school for somebody to teach me something. What?
yeah. I mean, that's
What?
one of the things that are preventing me from going to, grad school. I'm just like, I don't know if it's a good return on investment, just like to really take that chance. It's like I'm making fine right here and my wife's doing pretty good. So,
Good man.
there's not really I mean, taking time away from my family to study and all that. I mean, that's, something I don't want to do. And plus, it'll probably accrue more debt. I don't know. Maybe I could look into some programs that'll pay for it, but it's just more work and I'm a little bit too lazy when it comes to that, I guess. I'll just be
Hey,
honest. But hey, you know what, Purple? I think we had a
yeah,
pretty productive
yeah.
conversation,
I was like looking
especially
at
you
the clock.
sharing.
Wow, 3 hours. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. You shared a lot of
Hey
personal
man, but
stories.
I like talking to people, but you gotta have to talk to people, man. Even if you're not gonna agree, man. Like I mean, like I said, I think we agree with
No,
probably we
that's
disagree.
one area I think we'll probably have a disagreement because I'm all for holding everyone accountable.
You got to. You
So
can't
if
just
we
oh,
disagree,
but it's
I'm
like,
gonna be
oh
able
wait,
to
wait, wait.
back it
And then it's
up.
like,
But
oh
if
blue, no matter who. I'm like, no, no, no matter who, no,
anyone that disagrees
no
with the
matter who,
conversation that
no,
we just
no.
had saying, yeah, you should not
You
be
can't do that no
entitled to
matter
certain
who.
things. No, man, I'm going to
Yeah.
disagree with them all day and I'm going to hold them accountable. I'm like, whatever. Anybody that's older is saying, oh, they should, I'll disagree with them and hold them accountable. That's why I'm a leftist.
Yeah, you got to have, and then people just got to realize, man, that they're not, they, when they get, it's like when you get handed scraps, and I know I'm trying to wrap this up. I know we're looking like, wow, look at the
Yeah,
time.
it's all good. No.
But when you get handed scraps and you get them, it's like, wow, oh my God, I got a stimulus check for $300. Oh my God, I got something permanent. I mean, I got something temporary. I got a temporary tax credit. No, man, we should be getting that like all year round. At least it's, I mean, pandemic's still going on, man.
I
They had,
agree.
we should have been getting this from day one. Japan has been
Yeah.
giving out what a
Biden stopped that
90%,
child tax credit when
90% of
summer
their
came.
freaking employers,
Yeah.
what they make, dude.
Yeah, Biden's child tax credit ended at the worst of times, like right when summer started.
It's
When
why
people are going to work still and they have to pay for childcare.
like I said, my little girl's insurance is $300. That paid for that, and we still were struggling.
Yeah, I hear you,
We
dude.
had our insurance covered. We had our that paid for her insurance for what, I don't know what, until the duration it lasted. Now we got to pay for back her insurance again. Plus everything else has gone up because inflation is here now. Hello, and gas is up than what it was since the tax. Everything's gone up. So
Yeah.
now we're in a higher state of price gouging or whatever you want to call this. And now you back to
Hey,
paying
the
the bills.
Democrats did something to get rid of price gouging, but the Republicans threw it down.
Yeah, well,
So I'm just saying.
I mean, you got to go to Venezuela and be like, "Hey, Maduro, kiss your butt, man." Like,
Yeah.
don't we were just kidding. We weren't trying to install. We believe in you, not Juan Guaido. No, we love you. We love you. So
Yeah. No, man, I hear you, dude. And
yeah,
we just gotta be strategic, consistent, and
like,
a lot
man,
of more other things with mutual aid that you suggested.
I think this is the only way to go, man. I really do because I just don't see any faith in anybody. Not right. I'm starting to have faith, little faith in anybody right now. It's just they just the system is just too much against us. You got people getting kicked off ballots. I mean, they can't even vote. I mean, voter suppression. It's too much stuff, man. I mean, it's just too much stuff. And mutual aid, helping people out through us, it doesn't matter if I got to work with a Republican or a
Yeah,
Democrat or
exactly. When
whatever.
it comes to stuff like
You,
that, yeah, you
hey, I'm
don't
gonna pay you.
politicize
Hey, do
mutual
you need
aid,
help or not financially?
but you got
Okay,
to start
I
that in a
got money
local
for
level.
you to help you out
Mhm.
if people invest in that, and they
Yeah,
gotta trust,
exactly.
and they gotta trust who they're giving the money to.
Yeah, I
Because oh,
mean,
you're just gonna run off with the money? No, man. You know, give us who do you trust holding the money? Go
well,
by.
you
Okay,
just
well,
build like
I
that's what I'm
trust.
saying. It
Yeah,
comes to organization. I mean,
I
you
want
could
to do
put
like
like a
this.
spreadsheet and put all your donations and see where all the costs and all the purchases go to.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just muting because I'm coughing.
Oh no, I saw
I'm
you.
still
You
getting over the
okay?
COVID. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm just gonna drink some water.
That's what I've been doing. I'm
But
like, man, whoa, I
yeah,
gotta
but
help up.
anyways, hey, Purple,
Yeah, man.
it was good conversation,
It was,
and you
dude.
had some
Appreciate you
really
having me
good
on, man.
stories, and I think that should matter.
And
And
that's yeah.
I am gonna shame people that don't
Hey,
take
that's
that
cool.
issue
That's
important.
that's cool.
So that's the whole point.
I can't
I
stop
don't
anybody.
I'm not hiding who I am. I'm very transparent. I'm on the left. So if you're on the right, you are a political adversary because of what you
Right.
vote on.
I'm far left. Very
Yeah,
far
so
left. Way out there
so
in the field.
the thing is, being on the right has made you ignore these issues.
Yeah.
And my evidence is Mississippi. I mean, just like right there, unfortunately. So thank you so much. And it was an honor to have you share what you had to
I
put
appreciate you
out
having me on.
here.
It's the first
And
show I've done. I'm like, man, it's I've had a lot of people come to me, man. Why don't you have a show? I'm like, man, I gotta work, man. I don't know if I got time for a show, man. But
yeah,
hey,
you have
it
to
just
have the
helps me
time.
help.
And you got another job at home.
I'd rather like even if I did it, I'd rather help, other people out, man. And yeah, I do need help though,
Yeah,
and let's say like, well, don't you need help? I'm like, just subscribe to my channel and do this and buy some merch if I have merch. But
yeah.
it really, I just would want to help other people out because other people are worse off than what, I am. So, I mean, I don't want to
Hey, it's
try to,
inexcusable what you're doing, what you're having to go through, and what they're having to go through. So I'm not here to try to compare sad stories. There
yeah,
shouldn't be any stories like that in this country.
sure, there shouldn't be, but there are. And it's
Yeah.
sad, man.
Well, dude, God bless. It was
All
awesome
right.
talking to you.
Thank you,
Enjoy
man.
your evening. Have a
Appreciate
good
it,
one.
man. All right. You too, buddy. Have a good night.